Hello and happy first top five of 2025. It's good to be back after I've been pretty busy since my hiatus, but it's good to be back for another top five after the top five hiatus. So, how you doing, Jason? You have a good was your end of the year pretty good or better than it was last time we had a top five? Hope
It's still about the same. I'm trying to get over some sick and all that kind of stuff as of the last couple weeks. So it's been a little on that front, been pretty bad. But other than that, I'm ready to kind of get going and start all this stuff back up again because it seems it was missed for the last month.
Yeah, it's good to be back. And so I did a lot of homework, as I'm sure you did as well. I went back and watched through all of our previous episodes. Did you as well?
I watched as much as I could without getting sick of me talking about the same stuff over and over and over again. I'm like, oh, who's this, tons of fun guy going to talk about Killer Instinct or an arcade or all this kind of stuff. So whoever that guy is, needs to change up his tune.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I could say I did more homework for this episode than any of the others, but probably tied with probably the soundtracks. I did do a lot of homework for that one. And shoot, what was it? There was another one where I had to do a lot of homework on. But yeah, so for the last couple weeks, let's see. Well, this is episode 20. Yeah, we're on episode 23. So I watched 2 or 3 a day for like the last 2 weeks. I might have missed a day or here or there. So they're all pretty fresh on my mind, and took some notes as some favorite moments. So Carl's in chat saying hi, boys. Good evening, Carl. Good to see you, buddy. So we talked. This one's going to be a little different than most of our other ones, or I should say all of our other ones. So we're not actually going to be really ranking anything. We're just going to kind of go over the highlights and talk about some favorite moments and stuff of the first year of top 5, which we are getting close to the anniversary. Because do you happen to have it? I can figure it out if you don't, but do you happen to know what episode 1 was when that aired?
That aired February 20th, 2024.
Okay, so we got a little over a month. But yeah, it's been a fun ride, and looking forward to more in 20. Keep it going in 2025. So, all right, yeah. So go ahead and lead us off with anything that you want to talk about.
Yeah, so just like we normally go, I'm gonna keep it kind of sentimental first. We're not ranking these top 5. If I were, this would be probably up there a little bit more, or kind of not really. But I'm just ranking pretty much the whole first episode because it was kind of crazy how it all came about anyway. Both of us on a random, Melee Games podcast having the same idea. And then next, we started a little show, and now it's gone a full year. Me thinking that I had this little crazy idea wouldn't probably last a year, let alone having another co-host with me, bouncing ideas off to make it this long. So it's not really a moment, and a lot of the stuff that I kept going through too. There's a couple like moments I took out of shows, but like just discussions that we had is kind of what I enjoyed, and I'm glad, because that's what kind of wanted the show to be. Is I want to be like, hey, what's your favorite thing? I don't like that thing. Tell me about that thing, and then maybe I will go try that thing out, or give that thing a look out another way. Because again, like I said to start the show, I mean, who's this guy right here talking about the same thing over and over again? It's kind of nice to have a different perspective, and seeing why you like stuff and all that kind of things too, because variety is the spice. So it is always nice to add something extra into your repertoire, or just take another look over things that you kind of overlook, or you just don't do. But yeah, just the whole first episode, because I mean, Metroidvanias I'm a huge fan of, but I mean, I'm nowhere close to being a fan of this person over there. So but again, just stuff for like, and that being the first episode, because again, if me doing the episode by myself, Metroidvanias probably would have been later down the line. But starting off that one, like, yeah, I'm good at this topic, I can do that. But and then just having the chat there too, and again, thank you guys for all the people that have been on the show. We'll get to that a little bit later too, and thank you guys for coming and watching and just interacting, because again, I say it every episode, and I'm going to say it again to start season 2. If it wasn't for you guys, we would not be doing this. If you guys wanted to be on the show, again, we would not be here right now. hopefully we have a little bit more ahead of you guys that you kind of want to stay and watch a little bit more, or even again be a part of the show, because again we absolutely would love you to have you on here, and we love I love reading the chat as I'm doing numbers and everything like that, trying to write time codes down and getting stuck in the chat. But I absolutely love talking to you guys inside, outside, and everything like that. So, but yeah, my first moment, I'm just I'm just gonna say it all. This first episode, getting everything, figuring out how we're gonna do this. I believe it was on a Thursday too that we did it, so it was kind of interesting seeing some of the days. Because I know there was an episode that I watched that was on a Thursday. And I was like, huh, we did an episode on a Thursday, or maybe February 21st. Maybe it was like March 8th or something.
I think Metroidvania Part 2, I think, was on a Thursday.
Okay, but there was episodes that were on different days that were like, huh, that's interesting. Kind of thing like that. So just seeing how the formula kind of developed as the show kept continuing, as we kept going on, was kind of another fun thing to watch too, as we were getting some things going on.
Yeah, so I didn't even think about that. Well, and I also want to shout out, I didn't have it pulled up at first, but I do have it pulled up now. I got the Rumble chat open because it doesn't integrate yet.
Yeah.
But Dude is over on Rumble saying howdy. Good evening, Dude. Howdy to you too. But yeah, we've mentioned it before. I don't know if we've actually talked about it on Top 5, but we've mentioned it on other streams. So just how it came about was great, because I had ideas for a bunch of different streams. And Top 5 was one of them, and we just happened to be on Melee Town Square last December at the same time, and Jason's like, yeah, I've got this idea for ranking Top 5 things, and I'm like, I've had the exact same idea and I just haven't done anything with it, so let's do it. So it's just very fortuitous how it came about, because I don't know, if it wasn't for that, I might still not be doing Top 5.
Same, yeah.
So it's been fun. And yeah, so we started off episode 1 with Top 5 Metroidvanias. That was totally not my idea. And so on our first panel, it was myself, Jason, DJ Axis, and my buddy from my Xbox community, Skeptical Mario. I thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of just go over each episode real quick, and who the guests were and what our rankings were on each one. So I'll go ahead for this one. I'll start off with Skeptical Mario. At his number 5 for Metroidvanias was Symphony of the Night. His number 4 was Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. His number 3 was Hollow Knight. His number 2 was Ori, since we kind of grouped Ori's 1 and 2 together. And his number 1 was Super Metroid, which I'm currently playing through on Metroidvania Monday. And then if you want to go do DJ, and then I'll go over my 5, and then you can go over your 5. If you have them up. If not, I can go ahead.
No,
okay.
Yeah, I did not.
I've got it up.
Yeah, I did not have them up. Yeah.
No worries. So DJ Axis' number 5 was Shadow Complex. Love that game. His number 4 is Ori and Will of the Wisp. My number 1 favorite. Retroactive spoilers if you didn't catch that episode. His number 3 was AM2R, which I've also now played as part of Metroidvania Monday. His number 2 is Symphony of the Night, and his number 1 was also Super Metroid. Jason, do you remember off the top of your head what your 5 were? Or
I know number 1 was Metroid 2.
Yep.
Did I have Prince of Persia at the time? Because I remember.
Have you played Prince of Persia yet?
Yeah, I was playing it during the time.
Oh, that's right. That's
after,
right.
Yeah.
So no, it was not on yours because you hadn't finished it yet.
I know my big one was Dead Cells. I know I got roasted for that one.
That was your number 4.
That was my number. That's when
that's one of the things I wrote down in my notes of things to talk about was when you
put, and that's when the number 4 spot became known as because in one of my top moments of the year, the next episode, that's when it took a deep end for number 4 being the spot to being be careful what you put at number 4 because you're gonna get roasted on.
Yeah, started in episode 1 and kind of took a root in episode 2.
Yeah, episode 2 it took a big nosedive and I was all for it. But anyway, but yeah, I know Dead Cells was on there. As funny as it sounds, I was watching someone play a speed run of the original Resident Evil, and they made a great point saying they're like, yeah, we're just going from room to room, going on one side of the mansion to the other, getting these key items and different weapons to power up so you can go through different other pops of things. And he goes, it's almost like a Metroidvania. And I'm like, huh, Resident Evil 1 is almost like a Metroidvania because you have to go get different key items in different rooms, backtrack to use those items, but there's stronger enemies that come up, and you need stronger weapons to get through those enemies to get to boss fights. I'm like, huh, too bad I'm not doing this again because I might put that on there. But I thought that was pretty funny. I know Ori was on mine.
Yes, that was your number 5.
I believe I put Symphony of the Night on there somewhere.
That was your number 3, so you're just missing one more.
Oh no,
Your number 2.
my number 2.
Hint: it was the number 2 of. It was number 1 for DJ and Mario.
That one was shoot.
So test your knowledge since I just covered what.
I guess was it Super Metroid? No,
it was Super Metroid.
Okay, I was just like, okay. I thought I was like, I think it went Metroid.
Yeah. So, and then mine, number 5 was Mummy Demastered. 4 was Journey to the Savage Planet. 3 was Shadow Complex. 2 is Metroid Prime. And my number 1 favorite is Ori Will and the Wisp. Blind Forest is also a great game, but Will of the Wisp just took everything Blind Forest did and made it better. So,
yeah, it was tough for me to choose between the two. So I was like, I'm just going to choose
Just group them together.
Yeah, I'm going to group them together because I have the Switch copy right here and it's got both of them.
So, all right, you know what? I can delete that since we're not actually ranking them and move my notes over here. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, obviously, Super Metroid was at the number 1 for DJ and Mario, and then you're number 2. So, after that episode, Super Metroid was absolutely number 1 on the group ranking. But I hadn't played Super Metroid. The last time I played it was probably around 2016, so it had been a while since I'd played it, and I just started it not yesterday, but a week ago since I did Mass Effect Monday yesterday. I started Super Metroid last Monday and made some good progress, so it's good to play through it again because it's been a very long time since I played it. So, yeah. Another thing that I wanted to mention at the end of that episode, we were talking about Metroidvanias that are coming in the future that we're looking forward to, and some of them that have been mentioned are out now, given that was coming up on a year ago. And one of the ones that you mentioned in your anticipated Metroidvanias was Ultros. Have you since played Ultros?
I played a little bit of it. It was very interesting. I didn't finish it. How many hours did I put into it? It was one of those regular Steam games because I saw it. I put about a little over an hour into it. I really liked the artwork, but the game was a little slower than I wanted to be. But I know eventually, it's on my Steam Deck right now. Still, installed and everything. I know when I get a chance, I probably will finish it because it doesn't seem like it's going to be that long of a game. It's just, whenever I get a chance, I could probably finish it within a night or two.
Yeah, you know what? Let me go see if I can find out how long to beat is for Ultros.
I can. I mean,
it says main story 11 hours, so not terribly long.
Yeah.
So it's the reason why I asked is because coincidentally, I have played about the same amount of it as you have on my Metroidvania Monday. So since I was going to be taking most of December off, I finished AM2R either at the end of November or at the beginning of December. And so I didn't want to go start Super Metroid and then go a month of not playing it and then pick up because I wanted to start Super Metroid, when I'm ready to play it consecutive Mondays. And so one of the Metroidvania Mondays that I had in December, because I think I did it for the first 2 weeks of December. And so the first one that I did, I just played a bunch of Metroidvania demos that I hadn't played yet, and Ultros was one of them.
Yeah.
And I played probably about an hour of it, and I would agree with what you said. The art style was definitely very bright and colorful and different than pretty much anything else I had seen. But yeah, it was a little slow, but I wouldn't say it was bad.
No, not at all. I just wish there was a little bit more giddy up to it, but again, the art style is what was, saving it for me. I'm gonna keep going.
And then a couple others. There was one other I was going to play that night, but Steam removed the demo from Steam, which I was like, why would you take the demo down? That's freaking stupid. Just because the game is out doesn't mean you should remove the demo. Maybe people still want to play the demo before they buy the game. But that was I was going to play demo for Lone Fungus. I think it's the second one because I'm pretty sure Lone Fungus has been out a while. But the other ones that I did play were Hack, which was okay. I think I liked Ultros better. And then another one, which is actually an idea for a game, because I've mentioned multiple times that like whenever I have ideas for literally anything, whether it be like an invention, an app, a video game, I write down my ideas. And I had this as an idea for a Metroidvania a while ago, and it was cool to see someone actually made this game. And my idea was because I want to take like existing games and like if you could make it into a Metroidvania. And I was like, because I often complain about we don't have enough 3D Metroidvanias, and even less so, we have even less first-person shooter Metroidvanias. And I always say, like, basically, other than the 3 Metroid Prime games, the only first-person Metroidvanias we really have, at least on Xbox, is the one I mentioned is my number 4, is Journey to the Savage Planet, and the Superland games. There's a couple more now, but there's still not many.
Right.
And so I was like, what would be a great game that you could pretty easily turn into a Metroidvania? And I was like, what if you took like classic Doom and made it a Metroidvania where you had, you have to get power-ups to reach new areas. And someone did that, and the game is called Exophobia. I don't have it yet, but I played the demo for it, and it looks just like classic Doom in that it's, first person, but it's very pixelated.
Right.
So I played that on that stream as well. And then the one that I finished off that stream with was not actually a demo. I actually own it via GOG because I got it through Prime Gaming, and I've been talking to Canadian about it a little bit, and that is 9 Years of Shadows. And the 20 minutes or so I played of it, I really enjoyed. So I don't know if I'll play through it this year. I very well may, due to Carl and Canadian and I having our gaming challenge, but we shall see. So, and Christian Frades is in chat saying my favorite games of last year were Lollipop Chainsaw Repop and Stellar Blade. Nice. Yeah, I think at least on Xbox, I only played 2 games that came out last year. And then on Steam, I did play a couple others because they were nice enough to be, I have some good friends who were nice enough to gift a few to me. So on the Steam side of things, I played, it actually released last year, Helldivers 2, a game that came out on Steam, but had been out previously on other platforms, but I just hadn't played it since I don't have that platform, and that was Ghost of Tsushima. Very much looking forward to getting back to that because that has been, I put about 15 or so hours into it, and that's great. I need to get back to it at some point. And then a game that I had put a lot of hours into in 2023, and I put a few hours in 2024 when it hit its 1.0 release coming out of early access, and that was Satisfactory. So, and Carl's saying the last time Neo had an idea, he burned down LA. No, I did not. I am far away from LA, thank goodness. And there it is. Well, before I get to that, a couple other things the dude said. He said, it's been fun being on the show in the past year. Looking forward to another year. And it's always fun to see if I have all the games talked about in an episode, which he usually has most of them.
Usually you do.
So, and that's right. I always forget, there are currently 4 Metroid Prime games because there is Metroid Prime Hunters on the DS. I always forget about that one. And yes, that does qualify as a first-person Metroidvania. And I will be playing through that because I own it. It's right there with my other DS games. I just never beat it because I can never figure out where to go. But I will be playing through it again because it is support on retro achievements. So I'll be going through it for retro achievements at some point. So, yeah. So, anything else you want to talk about on the? While we're on the topic of Metroidvanias, I'm going to jump ahead to Metroidvania Part 2, and that was Episode 4, and just run down our second panel of guests. Then we'll jump back to Episode 2. So, on our second panel of Metroidvania, we had 3 people from my Xbox community. We had Jay Huns, who is, I believe, he's currently number 1 on Xbox Global Metroidvania leaderboard. Rocker Dude and Icefire TN, and then from our sphere, Carl's good buddy, who got me introduced, Metal Shred Freak Fernando, made up the panel for the second episode of Metroidvanias. And so starting, I'll go ahead and start with Shred. So starting at number 5, his number 5 was Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Number 4 was Metroid Zero Mission. 3 was Super Metroid, further bumping it up on the final ratings. His number 2 was Hollow Knight, and his number 1 was Metroid Prime 2, which I absolutely love that one. But as I mentioned on episode 1, I had to put Metroid Prime 1 just because I love Metroid Prime 2 basically just as much as Metroid Prime 1, but there are some things that Metroid Prime 1 does better than Metroid Prime 2, so I had to put it just slightly above Metroid Prime 2, but I basically love them equally. Icefire TN, his number 5 was Iconoclast, which I will be playing at some point. His number 4 was Eterna Noctis, which I will also be playing at some point. Number 3 is Prince of Persia, Lost Crown, which I am very much looking forward to playing because I can't wait to play that one. His number 2 is La Mulana, which I will be playing at some point, but that one is crazy when it comes to the puzzling aspects. Like, people, you need pages and pages of notes, and it's very obscure. So there are some people who absolutely despise it. I love puzzles, so we'll see how much I like it when I get to it. And Icefire's number 1 was Hollow Knight. And we got Paul in chat saying, "What's up? What's up, Paul? Good to see you, buddy." Rocker Dude's number 5 was Super Epic, which I will also be playing at some point. His number 4 was also Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. His number 3 was Superland, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, as a first-person puzzle Metroidvania. Number 2 was The Messenger, and number 1 was Shadow Complex, which I absolutely love Shadow Complex. And Jay Hun's number 5 was Barbarian, which I will be playing. Grime is number 4, which I will be playing. Number 3, Arkham Asylum, which I have played 3 stacks of, and I still have 2 more to do. Number 2 is Eterna Noctis, as mentioned a few minutes ago. I'll be doing that. And his number 1 was also Ori. So while we're here, do you happen to have the Metroidvania standings where we're at right now?
So not that one currently. The reason why is because I have a sheet that I'm going to be making for me easier to go through all that kind of stuff. But with what you were saying right now, it still sounds like the 5 from like Metroid, Super Metroid still would be number 1. Symphony of the Night would be 5. What was the other ones?
Hollow Knight's probably up there because
Hollow Knight would have been
a few people.
Yeah, Hollow Knight would have been 4.
Possibly Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, since 4 people mentioned it.
Yes. Because I'm looking at, I found my Metroidvania list, by the way. So I changed like 4 notebooks during the year, and I'm in a different way I took notes. So I'm like looking through, I'm like, I take way better notes, not earlier on. But yeah,
I keep all my notes in one note, so they're all in one nice, neat place.
Oh man, I was doing that till I lost the notebook, and then the notebook started breaking, and I couldn't find it. So I switched to another one, and then I kept forgetting to transfer stuff, and then
digitize it.
Yeah. Then I'm like, I should probably just put this on this gigantic computers that I have right in front of me and make it easier. But yeah. No, I know Super Metroid's still number 1. Symphony of the Night, as crazy as I thought it would be higher on the list, was lower. And then so yeah, the 2, and then I think Ori is probably 2 or 3. And then, because I know there was a bunch of those we were talking. I had it super high, you had it really high, so I mean, and all that stuff. And then again, how I was doing numbering back then was different from now. So
yeah, we went through a couple revisions.
Yeah, we went through
the first few episodes.
Yeah, and then I kind of like, because I think the old revision I had is like, oh yeah, if you had it at number, like if 2 people said it, it's better than if 2 people at number 5, it's better than 1 person at number 1. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, if 2 people like it, that's cool. But if they're just like, oh, it's on my list, it doesn't make it the best. But yeah, we went through so many different changes through the first 2 months.
Yeah, because we originally were group ranking them on a tier list.
Oh yeah. So it became a lot easier and later down. But yeah, I mean, just off the top of my head, Super Metroid would be 1. Ori would be probably 2 or 3. Castlevania Symphony of the Night would be around 5 because not a lot of people had as much as I thought they would. And then, like you said, Hollow Knight would be up there, and then missing one that you said. But yeah, like
probably Prince of Persia: Lost Crown.
Yeah,
would be my guess.
And there's your 5 right there. So yeah, I know with how the ranking systems with the part 2 is going to be a lot easier too, especially when I get everything on this, so I could just throw people's name on there and it'll just automatically do it for the points because the way I have it now is a lot easier.
Yeah, and you've been doing a good job of that, and reminding me when I constantly forget at
Eh,
the end to cover the group ranking.
It's easy. It's easy to forget because it's. I mean, when we first started the episode talking about the show too, we're like, yeah, well, I mean, 2 hours. Like, long can it be? How long can it last? 5 hour show later. Oh, it can take that long sometimes. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you know? I'll pull it up here in just a second. But off the top of
I,
your head, do you know which one was the longest episode?
if I'm not mistaken, it's Star Wars games, but I could be wrong.
All right, Star Wars Games, Part 1 was 5 hours, 11 minutes, and 38 seconds. In the Yep, you are right, because the next
Okay.
runner-up is 360 Games. That was 5 hours, 10 minutes, and 24 seconds. So it's about a minute shorter.
Yep. I knew the Star Wars one because we went on. I forgot. We went on a tangent about something for about an hour, and I'm like, holy crap, that went on for a while. And then so like I mean, and that's just a tangent one. Like if I had to like say the longest one, it'd be 360 because there was just like games after games after games we were talking about. But again, as we're going to talk about one of my favorite episodes that tells you to watch top five. It's always fun to go on those little tangents because again, it's fun talking about games, but it's also fun just talking to the guests and all the people that are here with us. So,
Yep, those long episodes were some of the most fun.
mhm.
So, all right. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and move on to episode 2, which was Mario games in air quotes.
Mario games in games Mario was in
games Mario appeared in.
There you go.
Because originally I was like games that you can play as Mario, and Jason's like, no, games that Mario appears in. I was like, all right. So for that one, we had ourselves, and we had James and Kay and Angry Canadian, and that one sparked some controversy.
Yeah, that if I had to say, if I had to put a top 5 of moments throughout the year, this is where number 1 would happen because there was 3 moments here that holy cow.
I think if I was to actually rank him, this would probably be my number 2.
Number 2, okay, yeah, this would be my number 1 because there are 3 things that just wow, it started something and it was fun. It started where I mean, if we went back and we go to the Melee Games thing, usually James and myself are the ones that are usually at it, but for one faithful night, the Mega Powers came together and we're all against K. And holy cow, it started with Kirby. It's then went to me with Metal Gear Solid, the Twin Snakes, which I will say again. I think I said it on the show as well that if I had to make this list the next day because I was having a hard time, this was one of the hardest lists I made. This game probably would be bumped off. Looking at because I actually have this list right here, and I have different squiggles and scratches, and I'm looking. I'm like, oh yeah, there's different. I would change it, so I know Metal Gear Solid wouldn't be on it today, but it was on during that time because.
And it's funny that so as mentioned, number 4 has kind of become the hot button topic on this episode. Both you and James's number 4 were both.
I know it was crazy.
The spicy ones.
Yep.
So I'll go ahead and run through Canadians real quick because his were as you would expect, like what you would expect from a Mario list. So his Angry Canadians number 5 was Super Mario Advance. Number 4 was Mario Superstar Baseball. Number 3 was Mario Kart Wii. Number 2 was Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. And number 1 was Super Mario Sunshine, which is the game that he challenged me to for our year-long game challenge. So I will most likely be playing that at some point this year. Kay also had a pretty as expected list of Mario games. And her number 5 was Mario Party Superstars. Number 4 was Mario Galaxy. Number 3 was also Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. Number 2 was Smash Bros. Melee, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. Yep. And number 1 was Super Mario World. Then James's number 5 was Mario Party 1. And then his hot button topic item was his number 4 with Kirby Superstar, which that answers, if you go back and watch that, basically broke Kay. And it was funny to watch just her die inside a little bit. And then James's number 3 was Luigi's Mansion 3. Number 2 was Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. And his number 1 was Super Mario Odyssey. And then do you have your top 5 Mario games?
So I put Double Dash at number 5.
Yep.
Still one of my favorite Mario Karts. Twin Snakes was number 4.
Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes at number 4, which also made Kate die a little inside, which was also very hilarious.
Like I said, Metal Gear Solid was great, and Mario was in it. Like I said, there's a bobblehead. You can mess with them all you want right there. Also next by Yoshi. So even if we said Yoshi games, it could have been on that list too. Then I put Toadstool Tour because I'm still a huge Mario Golf fan. Then I put Punch Out as my number 2, and I'm still holding on that one too because Punch Out again is in my top 5 favorite games of all time. And Mario's your ref, and that beautiful plumber has counted 10 so many times for me. I love him for it. And then I put Mario.
Makes a lot more sense than Kirby or Metal Gear.
Yeah,
but it fits the criteria.
But exactly. I said that's why I wanted to make it a little fun. I wanted to be like, people talk about Mario, and that's what I told Neo too. I was like, hey, people say Mario games. What's this? What's that? Like, let's make some top 5 lists that so people can't just type in Mario games, best Mario games. Let's just put some little flavor into it a little bit. It's just like, what's your favorite games Mario was in? Like, he doesn't have to be playable. He just has to be a bystander. Like, if he's there, it counts. If he's promos in there, it counts. It doesn't matter. Just as long as he's there, that's a Mario game in a way. So, and that's why we did that. And then I said Mario Party 2 is my number 1.
Yeah, Mario Party. And then for my list, number 5 was Super Mario 64. Number 4 was Mario Kart 64. Number 3 was Super Mario All-Stars. And then my number 2 was Super Mario World. And then my number 1 was Smash Bros. Brawl. If it wasn't for my typical self-handicap of keeping it to 1 per franchise, roughly 1 per franchise, it just would have been a list of Smash Bros. Games. But I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting. So, but along the lines of Smash Bros. So that led to quite a tangent of Jason and Kay going at it over Smash Bros. Smash Bros. Melee versus Smash Bros. Ultimate. And
which is I think that's one of our only clips that we've had to break out because it got so.
And so on my channel over the entire course of 2024, not live streams, like actual videos, I put 3 on my channel, and that was one of them. The other 2 were just minute-long achievement guides for a game that I was playing in, and I just put those up in December because there were no achievement guides for these achievements, so I recorded it and put it up on for achievement guides on True Achievements. But so I clipped out the section of Jason and Kay going at it over Smash Bros. So that was legitimately really the only video on my channel last year. And that was quite hilarious. And because at the time, I did not have a Switch yet. So I hadn't played Smash Ultimate. So I couldn't weigh in on it. Because at the time, Brawl was my favorite. I have since gotten a Switch and have played Smash Ultimate. So now I can weigh in on it. And I also played a decent amount of Melee this year as well, which I haven't played Melee since probably it was new-ish on GameCube, because I also played Melee for retro achievements this summer. So I put a decent amount of time into Melee. So I played both Melee and Ultimate a good amount last year. I keep wanting to say this year, but we're in January now. So last year. And I like Melee's, like, the adventure mode much better than I like Ultimate's Spirit Board or Spirit, whatever the single player mode is. I do not care for that mode. But I like Smash's multiplayer, what you play Smash for, the Melee not the Melee of the game, but like, the multiplayer aspect of like 4 people just going at it on Ultimate much more than I like it in Melee. So I can now weigh in on it, and they both have their merits. There's aspects that I like about Melee better than Ultimate. There's aspects I like about Ultimate better than Melee. But if I had to pick one to play, it's going to be Ultimate.
Hey, and during that whole topic too, I said the same thing. I'm like, hey, I'm not saying Melee is a bad game. Again, I play old fight. I'm the fighting game guy on this show. I go back and I play Third Strike because I like Third Strike's feel. But am I going to tell somebody that Street Fighter 6 isn't the better game to play right now? Nope. Because if you break things down, you're only playing Third Strike with 3 or 4 people. Yes, there's a bigger roster, but those people aren't as good, and you can be good with them. It's just a lot harder. But if you play something newer, there's a better chance to do all that stuff, and it's accompanying for everybody else. Now, when you do the same thing, melee is fine. The only thing that I kept getting on Kay for is because she kept saying like, "Well, they keep nerfing characters into the ground." Well, that's not a reason to not like a game because they're adding so much. Granted, if it's all feels like they're more and more vanilla, there's a difference to that. But again, I understand her take. I had mine. I'm just happy that now you can see the light that I was not right because I hate saying there's right and wrong when it comes to this, but there's a more enjoyability off of that. So that's all I'm gonna say.
So I think when this whole firestorm started on that episode, I think you were not great with picking your words because I think you did say that melee wasn't good, but that's not what you meant when you said it.
So when I say melee isn't good, I always mean it. But like, we all know me. I'm always going to be the little pushing the buttons kind of person. I'm very quiet, but I'm very sarcastic, and I will push buttons. And when I say it's not good, I don't mean like this game's terrible. Come on now, like we all know games are good, and even if a bad game is good, like I love bad games because there's something that's fun to be played out of them. I mean, the only bad games are the games that you can't do anything with. And even if that's the case, if you can't find enjoyability of a bad game, then there's no need because like you can always find something with it. So when I say it's bad, I mean it's just worse than Ultimate.
Yeah. So what you meant was not what you said, but that really kicked it off, and it was
Yes.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, another thing that I didn't have in our list, but we did talk about it on that one. So I mentioned 2 things that kind of made Kay die inside. So there's actually 4 things on that episode.
Oh yeah, you can see her face. She kept getting slower. Like you could just see her just doing this the whole show.
Exactly. It's like it's almost surprising she survived the stream with how much she died inside. So there was you saying that melee isn't good and that ultimate is superior. So that killed her a little bit. James picking Kirby Superstar Kirby Superstars as one of his Mario games. And then also I think it was one of either honorable mentions or maybe at the end of the stream. James said that arguably his number 1 would have been the Mario mod for Doom.
Oh yeah.
And then also when I said that the only Mario Party game I played is Mario Party on Wii, which is by many people's accounts the worst one.
Yeah, it's one of the worst ones. Yeah.
So that was quite funny. And yeah, while we were talking about length of streams earlier, Carl says, so the 2 longest shows I was involved with, a coincidence, I'm sure. So, and then another thing that I had forgotten about until I was rewatching these episodes is that Jason has battle scars from Mario Party.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I still have it. I still have the mark of Mario. Yep.
So right there on your palm from doing all the joystick waggling on. Was it mainly from N64 Mario Party, or was it from just any Mario Party?
Actually from their first one, really, because the first one had the more of the rotating of the sticks. So they still had some later on, but the first one was known for, hey, you're gonna rip your hand open. And I never had the fancy glove that I think what Toys R Us gave away, or I could be wrong on which retailer, but the fancy glove they came with it. No, not the power glove. They actually gave you like a mitt that you put on your hand, like a.
I did not know this.
Yeah.
It's basically like the little rubber condom that they gave for the Wiimotes after people started breaking stuff, but the predecessor to that.
I'm sure dude in Rumble or in Kick or Rumble, wherever he's at.
He's over on Rumble.
Right, yeah. I'm sure dude, if he's still in Rumble and hears me talking about this, he might chime in. But yeah, I can't remember.
Dude, do you have one of these gloves that he's talking about? I'd be curious to know. So, yeah. All right. Anything else on Mario games?
No. I said that one was like said out of all the episodes that I get asked about top 5, I always tell people like even if you're not a Mario fan, again, that's the reason why I did it. If you want to kind of see what, uh, if you like us or don't like us, or you kind of want to see what we have to offer, it's an early episode, so that was kind of nice. And I think after this episode too, me personally, I mean, I've always was comfortable doing stuff like this, but like that episode got me more comfortable. I'm like, okay, I can be a little bit more. I can't say like not reserved because I am just that way. But I could be a little bit more. I can tell people how things are and how things can be and everything, and just see how fun you can take some things.
So, dude says he knew about the glove, but he does not have one.
Yeah.
So, one other thing. Oh, what was? Yeah. So I just wanted to pull it up here because, as I mentioned, I clipped out that segment and put it as its own video. And the stream itself, top 5 Mario games, has 71 views, and that video of just that argument has 40 views. So it has more than half the amount of views as the whole stream does. So that's pretty funny. And another thing that I forgot is that we had some, well, we, and by we, I mean had some, and they did too, had some technical difficulties. So they dropped out of the stream while you were bashing on Smash Melee. And then when they came back and Kay was refuting Melee, you had some difficulties and either dropped out or your audio cut out or something. So that was pretty funny.
Yep. Yeah. No, that one was, yeah, that had everything. They had the dumpster on fire, crazy disasters of this that always happens, and then just the nonsense of two ideas at each other, and just for fun, not you're wrong, you're right, just hey, I'm right and you're wrong.
So all right, well, with that, episode 3 was Zelda games. That was the two of us, Melee K, not James because he doesn't know what a Zelda game is, and Dude 1286. So Dude's top 5, starting at number 5, was Link's Awakening. Number 4 was Ocarina of Time. Number 3 was A Link to the Past. And while we're on the topic, I always got to shout it out. Link to the Past and Link's Awakening, he wrote achievement sets for those games on Retro Achievements. His number 3 was Majora's Mask, and his number 1 was Twilight Princess, which is a fantastic game. Melee K's number 5 was Twilight Princess. Number 4 was also Ocarina of Time. Number 3 was Link to the Past, which was... I just realized her number 3 and number 4 were the exact same as Dude's, because they both had Link to the Past as number 3 and Ocarina of Time at number 4. But her number 2 was Link Between Worlds, which is one that often gets mentioned as needs to be ported in some way because it's basically trapped on the 3DS, I believe.
It is, yeah.
And everyone who's played it says that one is fantastic. And her number 1 is, without surprise, Wind Waker. So, and Dude is saying that Kay still hasn't popped into the Wind Waker streams. Shame on her. You're playing her favorite Zelda game. So, Jason, do you want me to cover your top 5 on Zeldas, or
no? Actually, I have
you got them up
here too. Yeah.
All right.
I had number 5. I put Breath of the Wild, but the shrines only. Didn't care for the games, but I like the shrines.
Let's see here. Did I write that down in my notes? I think I did. No, I did not write it down.
Yeah.
So I should have written that down. Yeah, the shrines, but not the rest of the game.
Only. Like I said, I just wanted a game of the shrines. I didn't care about the traversal. I didn't care about that. I just wanted a game of give me all the crazy puzzles in a shrine and let me do all that stuff because that was a lot of fun. Then I put Cadence of Hyrule at number 4, starting that number 4 train again too, because people say it's not a Zelda game, but dang it, to me it is.
It's definitely closer to it. Definitely fits this list a lot better than Metal Gear Solid fits the Mario list.
That's very true too. Then I had Link Between Worlds.
There's Link Between Worlds. Yep.
And then I had Link's Awakening and Link to the Past. So those were mine.
All right. And then my 5, starting at number 5, was Oracle of Ages. Number 4 was Link's Awakening. 3 was Majora's Mask. 2 was Twilight Princess. And number 1 is Ocarina of Time, which I will be playing due to Carl and Angry Canadian and I's challenge. I do plan to play through, let's see here. I'm going to play through a bunch of Zelda games this year. That's the plan. I don't know if I'll actually make it through. But did I not write it down? I swear I did. Where is it? There it is. Oh, yeah. I've never played Zelda 1 or 2 in there. I've never even played a second of Zelda 2. I've played a few minutes of Zelda 1 when I was a kid at someone's house, but I've never played 1 or 2 properly. So I'm going to plan on playing through Zelda 1 and 2, and then Link to the Past, which I've only played once. And then Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess. So whether I actually make it through all of them, we shall see. But that is on the agenda for the year. So, and I will, all of those have retro achievements. So I won't have to feel at a complete loss playing through them. So, and we will probably do a Zelda Part 2 at some point because I've still got a list of like 5 people here who say they want to participate in there, because we were supposed to have at least one more person on that panel and they had to bail last minute. But I think that we had 2 other people lined up for that one and 2 people had to bail. But I know there was at least one. I just don't remember if it was 1 or 2.
Yeah, I remember Zelda was going to be big and then it ended up getting a lot smaller.
Okay, then yeah, I think there were 2 people who said they wanted to join, they weren't able to. So we'll have to do a part 2 at some point because I've got 5 people listed here that want to do rank their Zelda games. So we'll see about doing that sometime this year. So anything else that you want to mention on Zelda games?
No, like I said, that was another one that, like I said, I'm a huge Zelda fan, but I'm not like the biggest of Zelda fans. So it was also nice seeing, like, again, my 5 were pretty, or my 3 were pretty easily set in stone kind of thing. So it was kind of nice just to, hear everybody else talk about, the ones that they liked. Because again, I wasn't the biggest fan of the ones on the N64. And again, so seeing people, like those, I mean, they're great games. Don't get me wrong. I like the shorter, compact versions of them, but it was kind of nice to see how much everybody else liked the bigger ones and talking about them compared to what I liked. So it was always fun.
So, and because on our video game challenge, like series of games get bonus points. So like the console versions will be like one series and the mobile ones will be a different. So I'm also planning on playing Link's Awakening, which I'll be getting some of Dude's retro achievements for. Well, as is Link to the Past, as I mentioned, but I'm also going to be doing Oracle of Ages, which I haven't played since it was new, and Seasons, which I still never played because I never got a chance to play Seasons because my back then I mentioned it on that episode, but when 2 versions of a game came out, me and my buddy would get them and then we'd swap. But he beat Seasons before I beat Ages, and then he sold it or traded it in. So he didn't get to swap, so I never got to play Seasons.
Yeah.
Similar thing happened with Mega Man Battle Network 3. I got blue and he got white, and then no, I did. We never swapped that one, but he didn't sell it or anything, so I was able to trade chips with him so that I could get all 7 stars in that one. But I will also plan on playing Minish Cap, which I started playing way back in the day, but I only played through like the first dungeon. I just fell off, so I'll be playing. The plan is to play through that for the first time in its entirety, and then do a run through of Phantom Hourglass, which I haven't played since it was new on DS as well. So, like I said, that's on the agenda for the year. Whether I'll actually do that or not, we shall see. But
I think now because I know back then, what Seasons, Ages, and Minish Cap, I know they were Capcom Zelda games, and I mean, Capcom guy, as we all know from the first season. I think I need to get back to trying because I know back then I didn't care for them as much, but having them on, easy, I guess easy back then too, but easy just in general to double check and see how much if I was right or wrong on those.
And yes, I was right. Dude also wrote the achievements for Oracle of Ages, and I'm pretty sure he did Oracle Seasons. Yep, Oracle Seasons as well. So shout out to Dude for all the achievements he's written for Zelda games. So, all right. Well, we already talked about episode 4 because that was Metroidvania's part 2. Number 5, I don't have anything written down here because that was an episode that I was not on. That was WrestleMania matches, and I know almost nothing about WrestleMania. So I don't really have anything to say about this one. But if there's anything you want to, I didn't even write down the list, so I don't even. No, I know that James and Kay were on that one, and I think was Tyler on that one with you?
He was not. So so it was James Kay, and then I had that as one of my favorite moments too because again, I started with the Shooting Star Press, doing wrestling podcasts, going to shows, and doing all that kind of stuff. And then the person that was a guest was my co-host at the time during that time. So it was kind of cool to have a kind of another show started and bringing back kind of like my past into it, talking about like a wrestling. So like the reunion of the Shooting Star Press is what I put as like one of my other favorite moments of the last year, just to kind of be like, I have a new show. This is what I had from before. Having James and Kay were great, talking about stuff that they enjoy too, and we had just a lot of fun talking about wrestling stuff. This is one of the notes that I don't have for
Oh, it
what
was
were
Ian.
exactly on there. Yeah, Ian. Yeah. These are the notes I don't have. I have a spot right here that I was like, oh, cool. It was I wrote down so many matches and everything like that on a different notebook, like match by match, because when I do that stuff, I just write down everything. So I had like a huge paper of like everything that happened in each match, kind of like a report. I lost that paper, so that's why I don't have it with me. But I mean, that time flew on that one just because when he started talking about stuff like that, I mean, they're like 15, 20-minute segments and they're almost like movies. So it was super, super easy to talk about. That time flew. It was comfortable, but yet different. Because again, a newer show, because I mean, we're only about what April, February, March, April. We're 2 months now into the show. We're starting to get a little bit things kind of ironed out. So again, having Kay and James were great because they were guests on everything else. And as you can see on that episode 2, Kay and myself were more on the same team again. We had a
Not
little
at
makeup.
odds with
Yeah,
each
yeah.
other.
We had a little makeup and all that kind of stuff. So but yeah, no, it was a blast bringing back kind of the old Shooting Star Press to the top 5 segments, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Not that I would have any idea what any of them are, but do you happen to have do you have the list of matches, or is that one
Oh
that you
no, so I'm
okay?
finding, yeah. So after these notes,
'Cause I was just gonna
I'm
say
starting.
if you don't have all of them, I'd just be curious what each of your number one was if you had it, but if you
I
don't have it,
think
no
I
worries.
know my number 1 was, oh shoot, if I am guessing correctly right now, I believe my number 1 was Shawn Michaels Undertaker 1 at WrestleMania 25. I believe that's what my number 1 was.
Okay.
I could be wrong there, but I know the number 1 overall for
The
everyone
group
was,
rank.
yeah, was the Austin Rock at 17.
WrestleMania 18 or
Yeah,
17.
the one that you see the promo, and I mean, it wasn't on my list, but I mean, I can't not say no to that one because again, if you see any like promo for like uh a rivalry kind of going into it with my way and everything set that way, I mean, it just sold itself. And I mean, the story before the match was great, and then what happened after kind of signified the end of what was happening. So I mean, it was a good conclusion to how Rock and Austin did their stuff. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun to do that episode. If it wasn't for my friend Ian that was part of this, not having to do so many different things with work and having kids, he was like, man, I really wanted to get back and do stuff again. I'm like, hey, the door's open, my dude. Just give me a text message anytime you want. We can try to figure. We have blocks that we could do stuff with. We can make shows. We could do this. We could do that. Now it's easier for me to do. So they got him kind of thinking. But again, being a dad of 2 kids, that should definitely take effect first. And he keeps talking to me about doing stuff, and I'm like, hey, whenever you want, man, just let me know.
So, all right. Anything else about WrestleMania matches? Since I don't know anything about WrestleMania,
No,
I
no,
don't
no,
have
no.
anything to
It was
say.
a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Can't wait to possibly do something like that again in the future. And again, whoever's in chat, just let me know because again, I would love to. We love different ideas and we love talking about whatever we can. So
All right. Episode 6. I didn't realize this one was so early. I thought this one was more later in top 5's lifespan, but episode 6 was video game soundtracks.
right,
That was a fun one.
I think this is where my number 1 regret is because I think we should have saved that to later because I don't know how it is on your analytics, but this is like one of my least watched episode.
I don't really even pay attention to that, but
See, I do and I don't. The reason why I don't or I do is because we'll get to it eventually. And it's one of my favorite things that's happened to the channel, just because it shows me that something, you know, not we've made it, but like, oh, they're watching us in a way. But yeah, I didn't have very many views on this one personally, but
Of
this
the
is
episodes that I was on, which is so far would have been everyone except for the WrestleMania matches, it was the lowest views, but not by a whole lot.
yeah. See, by mine, it was mine for quite a bit. So I mean, but still, like, yeah, that I this is when I came up with the show, or when I personally came up with the show top five. This was like my number one, like my grail. Like I love
Okay.
music and video games, so like I think that's why I pitched it to be early, because I'm like, oh man, I want to talk about these. Like I love music and games. I'm like, I want to get this done instead of just be like, we should probably maybe have done it a little bit later. But I mean, yeah, I'm happy we did it, but it is one of the things I kick myself. I'm like, we probably could have sat on this one a little bit longer.
Yeah, because as I've made no secret that I've never really paid much attention to music in video games for the most part until I got connected with, basically everyone that was on this panel because they're all like huge video game music guys. So this panel was, other than the two of us, was Angry Canadian, DJ Access, CJP, and Paul Hadouken, who are all like, that's what they're all about is music. So since I've gotten connected with people like this, I've tried to make it more of a point to pay attention to music and video games. But hey, Paul is here saying, yes, that was a fun episode. Oh, Paul was already here. That's right. He said what's up earlier. So so Paul's number 5 was Tekken 3. His number 4 was GoldenEye. His number 3 was Deep Rock Galactic. Number 2 was Skyrim, and his number 1 was Mirror's Edge, which
Yeah,
when he mentioned it, because he always shouts out Solar Fields, and I do remember when I originally played that back in the day, I did really like the music. So even though I hadn't really listened to it a whole lot, when he started talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I can imagine that music in my head.
Yeah, he stopped by. What did I do? I started the my let's play, like my let's play whatever, let's play and chill show or whatever, and I was listening to music while I was playing it, and he's like, oh yeah, you gotta listen to Mirror's Edge. And I was like, oh, that's right, that was on our top 5, and I could see why it was his number 1. For me, again, it still wouldn't have made my top 5, but it was a very relaxing, just very moody style of music. Like I couldn't imagine it being another game, just because it, like, all the different ways it goes. But it was
the
really
music
good.
in that game fit the game so well.
Absolutely.
And Carl saying music episode part 2. Yeah, absolutely. I've got people listening here who have expressed interest in wanting to do game soundtracks. So I did not have you on that one, Carl, but I added you to it, unless you tell me otherwise, if you want to be on there.
This is the episode 2 that I've ironed out the scoring system as well, because I had
okay. So yeah, well, maybe we'll have to revisit this one this year at some point as well. So CJP, his number 5 was Octopath Traveler. His number 4 was Super Mario Odyssey. His number 3 was GoldenEye, which I figured was going to be his number 1. So I was surprised that that was only his number 3, since that's kind of what his whole channel is kind of based on, is GoldenEye. His number 2 was A Link Between Worlds, which, shout out to more Zelda, and the one that is basically criminally underrated, that a lot of people didn't get the chance to play. And his number 1 was Chrono Trigger, which I've heard lots of great things about it, but given it's a JRPG, I have very little interest in actually playing it.
Just listen to the music.
But that I could do. That I could do, is listen to the music. Because I believe, it wasn't on Paul's list, but it was, I do remember it was in his honorable mentions. At least I'm pretty sure it was in his honorable mention. I'm pretty sure Paul mentioned Frog's Theme.
Yeah, Frog's Theme is like one of the best songs.
Wait, no. I mean, I have heard that, but I think the reason why I was thinking of Frog was, yeah, that's right. I was thinking of party episode 21 when we did party members.
Oh yeah.
Because I remember looking at Frog when we were talking about it, but I was like, we didn't pull up any images of anybody on the music stream.
No.
It was on the party member stream where I actually pulled up pictures of each one that we were talking about. But I have heard that Frog's Theme is really good.
It is.
So, For DJ Axis's top 5, his number 5 was Plock, which is a little-known side-scrolling platformer from Super Nintendo, which I actually own. I never beat it, though, as a kid, but it does have retro achievements, so I will probably play through it at some point and finally beat it after 30-plus years.
Yeah, that music has no right to be as good as it is.
Did you play Plock back in the day?
I did. That was the one game that I can never
Okay.
remember the name of, but I remember the music. I'm like, why does this music go so hard on this kind of game? And I just never could remember what it was until, people just, on Thank You for YouTube and all that stuff be like, oh, this crazy song. And I'm like, I remember that song. And then they were showing the game like, oh my gosh, that's the game. And now that we all kind of know. And then, oh man, I'm forgetting the guy who did all that music. I have it saved on my phone on who that guy. Oh man, the person who did all the music for that stuff, because I think he did as well. He did Pictionary and everything too, and all of his music is just insane.
Oh yeah, I remember you guys talking about Pictionary had like a surprisingly good soundtrack.
Pictionary soundtrack is silly as well, and it's all done by the same guy.
Tim Follin.
Yes, Tim Follin. Thank you.
Follin.
Yeah, his music is like, they're like, hey, can you write a night, like they'll take a just simple, nice melody style game, just like something simple, and then he just goes absolutely insane on everything he does, and it's just like, okay, I'm here for it. Like, there's no reason, like, you could have went 80%, and it probably would have been what they were asking for, but no, you went deep, and thank you for that.
So, but yeah, like I owned Plock back in the day and played it. Like I said, I never beat it, but I wouldn't recognize the music if I heard it. But I do very vividly remember the look of the game, and your little yellow guy with throwable, red glove boot limbs and basically it looks like a red, executioner hood as his head. But I will be playing that for retro achievements at some point, and likely finally beat it for the first time. But yeah, I pulled it up here. Pulled up the composer here to find out who it was, Tim Follin, and Plock only sold 200,000 copies across the U.S. and Europe. So no surprise it didn't get a sequel. And that's right. That's why I was thinking of Paul when we were talking about Frog, is because Paul did a cover of Frog's theme. So that's why I had Paul in the brain when we talked about Frog. So, all right. So yeah, DJ's number 5 was Plock. His number 4 was Tetrasphere, which I've never even heard of until that episode.
Oh yeah, the 3D orbed version of Tetris. That's a very interesting game. But yeah, good music on that one as well.
His number 3 was Final Fantasy VI. His number 2 was Mega Man 2, which we played on Sunday night, and we did a race, and that was debuted on Cherik Seek's channel just about an hour or two ago. So go check out Cherik's channel for it was Cherik, DJ, and I doing a race. I wasn't really ever in contention because we started, and then I realized that my buttons were not mapped properly. So I spent like the first 10 minutes trying to figure out fixing my button mapping. But I did make it through because it was an hour race, and I made it even after getting that far of a opposite of a head start. I still made it through 7 of the 8 Robot Masters, and after we finished the race, I went and finished the 8th one. So I am at Wily's Castle on that playthrough. The 2 of them both beat it with like 20 minutes left. And it was like neck and neck. They were crazy good at that one. So go check out that race over on Cherik's channel, because that was a lot of fun. And DJ X's number 1 video game soundtrack was Castlevania 3. Did you say something? I think your audio might have.
No, I just repeated it. Yeah, like I said, now my notes are starting to add up to yours, so I have all your stuff.
Because there have been episodes where your audio cut out and we couldn't hear you. So I was like, that might have happened again.
No, we're good right now.
Okay. So Angry Canadians number 5 was Smash Bros. Brawl, because it basically incorporates all the previous, like the music from all the franchises that incorporates it. So it's a bit of a cop-out, but what better way to pick one game and get tons of music included with it? His number 4 was Sonic Unleashed. His number 3 was Castlevania Rondo of Blood, which I have not played, but I will be playing maybe this year. We shall see. His number 2 was Twilight Princess, and Angry Canadian's number 1 was Halo 3. So, as mentioned earlier, I think this episode is the one that I had to do more homework for than any other episode because I had to listen to a crap load of soundtracks. So what I did for my homework for that one is I just wrote down a crap load of games that I was like, I'm pretty sure these games have good soundtracks. And then I basically went and listened to all of the soundtracks in that franchise to figure out which one was the best of each one. And then I ranked the best of each one against all the best of all the other ones to narrow it down and then organize them in my top 5. So Halo was one that I listened to all the soundtracks for. And Halo 3 was actually at the bottom of my list for Halo games. Still good, but just ranking my favorite Halo soundtracks, it was Halo Reach and Halo 3 were tied. Then above that was ODST. Then above that was Halo 1. And then above that was Halo 2. Halo 2 is my favorite Halo soundtrack, which is on my top 5 soundtrack. So I'll go ahead and go over my top 5, and then you can go over yours. So for my number 5 was Ocarina of Time, which was my number 1 Zelda soundtrack. Number 4 was Halo 2, because as I just mentioned, Halo 2 is my favorite Halo soundtrack. 3 was Ori and the Will of the Wisp. You could put either Ori game because both of those soundtracks are phenomenal. My number 2 is my favorite Mega Man soundtrack is Mega Man X. And then my number 1 was kind of out of nowhere, but not one that you would probably expect to hear on anyone's, was the Guardians of the Galaxy game, because it had great like game music, but they also wrote an entire 80s hair metal album that does not a real band. They wrote it for the fake band called Star-Lord in the game. And so that's why I made my number 1, because that album is awesome. And James was talking about it on Steam Roulette a couple episodes ago. And for some reason, he didn't like it. And him and Kay were like tizzing about the flashback part where you're in Peter's room at the beginning of the game. But I loved it. And you're listening to that album on your headphones in game. And you got the CD pull, the CD insert pulled out, and you can read along to the lyrics just like you would be listening to an album that on a CD that came out back in the day. And that album freaking cooks. I loved that soundtrack so much. So, and that's out of all the ones that are mentioned on this entire episode, that's the only one I've listened to since this episode. So, Jason, you want to go over your top 5 soundtracks from that episode?
Yeah. So this one was easy/hard. I know my number 1 and number 2 were very difficult to switch, but I had to find a way to separate the two. But yeah, like I said, I have my notes from back then. So yeah, Parappa the Rapper was number 5. Mussolini's Car Rap, Flea Swallow's Rap, Cheap Cheap Cooking Rap, the Bathroom All Masters Rap.
I've never played it, so I don't know any of those.
And I didn't even say the one that everybody else knows is the first one with the kick punch and everything like that. So Street Fighter EX was my number 4. That was on the kick of, I think it was me versus Craig talking about Guile's theme at that time. And I mean, Street Fighter music's great all along, but I mean, if you can add a really good jazzy feel to it, and that's what the EX soundtrack was, it was just pretty much like, hey, you like Street Fighter music, hey, why don't we add a little bit more jazz to it, and you're going to like it as well. So, I mean, it was great. Then I put DuckTales Remastered for my number 3. I put that one because the NES soundtrack is great, but why choose a DMake when you can have the same exact soundtrack, but just made extremely better? So I put that for my number 3.
You would think, but not always the case. As I ranted about in, I don't remember what episode it was, but this year, or not, I keep saying this year, last year, I played the PlayStation 1 version of Mega Man X3 for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
The audio, the music in that is trash compared to the Super Nintendo version. So,
yeah.
It's not always the case.
Yeah, you're right.
Just most of the time.
Yep. And then,
and Paul is saying Guile's EX theme is GOAT.
See?
I don't know it since I've not even played it Street Fighter, but I'm assuming it's pretty good.
Yeah. Paul is what we know has class. So that's what I'll just leave it as. And then this one was actually the crazy one for everybody. I still think I would probably keep it this way as I'm looking at my top five. I had the Final Fantasy VII Remake soundtrack as my number two. A lot of people would think that was going to be there, that that would be my number one. But again, the soundtrack is great. But my number one, because I
Before
still
you switch gears to your number one, I'm curious where Final Fantasy VII Rebirth soundtrack would fall in your list. Does that make any difference now that it's out? Because it wasn't out when we did this episode, right?
It was not out yet. No. Man, that's crazy. Yeah, no, it was not out yet. I would probably still put remake just because of all the songs that, like, Rebirth soundtrack is fantastic, but the 3 or 4 songs that I go to on the remake one are just better. Like they have the better singles, as I like to say. Because yeah, like the Genova's theme in remake is one of my favorite themes done in any of the Final Fantasies. The Smash and Break 'em one, as soon as that song hit for the first time, when you go underground and there's just like this underground rave song while you're fighting to get to a place, it's like it has no again, it's one of those things that has no reason to be here and no reason to be as good as it is from getting one area to another, but you have a lot of battles and it just fits perfect. And then yeah, and then everything else with the orchestra. I think I was supposed to, but they had the Rebirth orchestra traveling around, and I was supposed to go, but
one of those live video game orchestra showings.
Yeah.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah. So I'm hopefully they like still have a chance, but I doubt it. But we'll see. But yeah, no, I would absolutely love to see that one. And then yeah, my number one, because again, I will listen to the soundtrack all the time just because of the music, but the KI, the newer KI one.
I was just gonna say, I did write it down because I know it was Killer Instinct. I did write it down, but I was gonna say, was that the original one? But I did write down that it was the Xbox One version.
Yeah. I wrote 11 songs here that I could just tell somebody to go listen to, and you'd be like, if you don't like that one, listen to, give you 11 different tracks. You will find a taste of music that you will like, and you'll like that song. So, but yeah, no, KI was definitely my number one.
And Lowest Expectations here saying, hello there. Good evening, Lowest Expectations. Good to see you, buddy. So we're just regaling the 2024 year in review for top 5. So we are currently on episode 6, which was our video game soundtrack. So unless there's anything else that you wanted to shout out. Oh, one other thing. I did mention this on that episode, but one of the other things I listened to in my homework for this episode was because, everyone's like, oh, the GoldenEye soundtrack was so good. So I listened to the GoldenEye soundtrack and I was like, this is really good. But because I say, because everyone, almost, if you were a console player at the time, everyone has great memories of GoldenEye. But I always say that Perfect Dark was better in every way because it took everything GoldenEye did and did it better, but it didn't sell anywhere near as much as GoldenEye did. So that's why I always like, if you played GoldenEye, you should have played Perfect Dark too, because it was the spiritual successor and it was fantastic. And everyone's like, but GoldenEye's music was better. And I was like, well, this is the perfect time to find out. So I went and listened to Perfect Dark soundtrack as well. And it is also phenomenal. So I literally couldn't pick which one is better. On my notes, I said GoldenEye equals Perfect Dark for when it's the soundtrack. So they are both fantastic. So I can't say Perfect Dark did everything better, but other than the music, it did everything better. On the music part, it did just as good as GoldenEye did in the soundtrack department.
But yeah, no. Only thing I can add is just how I can end it right there is because this is where I kind of got the top 5. But yeah, GoldenEye was our number 1 ranked after everything was all said.
It wasn't number 1 in the group rank afterwards.
Yeah, it was GoldenEye number 1, Chrono Trigger number 2, and then we had a big tie because there was a lot of soundtracks. I thought we were gonna have a lot of some overlapping, but there was a lot of individual ones. So yeah, GoldenEye, Chrono Trigger, Halo 3, KI, Mirror's Edge, Guardians of the Galaxy, Castlevania were all in the top 5 because there was a lot of ties and points and everything like that.
That's probably the biggest tie we've had so far.
Yeah, there's so many. Yeah, so
but that's probably because both Paul and CJP had GoldenEye in their top 5, and then I had it in my honorable mentions.
Yep, that's exactly why. Yep. So that's why when we were doing I was like, yeah, okay, honorable mention. I think the episode before, I was like, oh yeah, honorable mention's got to be not worth a lot of points. We got to be worth something in a way, or something silly I came up with, or whatever. But yeah. So no, this definitely seems like a topic I would love to go over again, see what everybody else thinks, because there is a log jam of games and everything like that.
We need to get
Hopefully we
those
don't
spread
add
out,
more.
not
Yeah,
have so many
exactly.
tied
Yeah.
at the same spot.
Exactly.
So, and when you were talking about Killer Instinct, you got. I mean, I'll be happy to partake. I don't have as many to pick from, but when are we doing top 5 fighting games? That needs to happen.
I mean, I would love to. So my obviously I'm the big fighting game guy here. I've been sending out messages and emails to some of the big fighting game. I shouldn't say big fighting game, but some decent fighting game creators out there, just to kind of see if they would be and want to get involved too, and all that kind of stuff. Just to, a little bit more outreach and everything like that. So I'm not, begging, you to join, you to be on the show. Just be like, hey, you're gonna play fighting games for 2 months. Yeah, I need you to.
I could definitely probably make a list. It's probably gonna be like my probably like my Mario list, where it's going to be a very normie list.
Yeah. I would love. Obviously, you're going to be on the show with, but like, I'm seeing if there's anybody out there, in the the FGC that would want to kind of come out and even put me to shame on their fighting game knowledge. So, eventually that will happen. Could it be this year? This year just started. Who knows? But yeah, no, that will be a project that I'm working on in the back to see what we could do with it. So hopefully it does happen sooner than later. But yeah, we'll see. And there's a lot of,
go ahead.
There's a lot of good fighting games coming out this year too that could easily make a top 5 list too. So we'll see.
So Lowest Expectation says, "Oh man, I would have a lot to say about best soundtracks." Well, if you want to be on top 5 when we do a part 2 of top video game soundtracks, you're definitely welcome on to rank your top 5 favorites. So, if you want me to put you on the potential list for that one, Lois, go ahead and say the word, and I'll add you to the list for people to reach out to when we do that topic again. So, all right. So episode 7 was another one that I was not able to make due to traveling for work, and that was I didn't actually listen to the WrestleMania one, since I know like nothing about WWE, so I didn't even watch that one. However, I did watch the comedy movies one after the fact. And I have seen a few of those movies, but so that was not the first one that you did without me, because obviously that would have been the WrestleMania one. But this is the first one you did without me that I would have been able to rank a list on, since I wouldn't have been able to even make a list of WrestleMania matches. But so that was you, Carl, BD Jake, and Fractured Filter.
Yep.
So I'll go ahead and start here at the bottom of the list here. Fractured Filters. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, I said I can do this one if you want, because like I said I have this one too. Okay. So if you want to take a break, yeah. So
and yes. All right, Lois says, "Hey, yeah, hit me up." So I will add you to the list. So when we do game soundtracks part 2 and get another panel of guests, we'll hit you up. So go ahead, Jason.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I'll just do my order. So yeah, BD Jake was on there. He had Uncle Buck, which I can't say surprised because the movie's great, but it was surprising for things to come.
And it's funny because Filters number 5 was also Uncle Buck.
Right. That's to say, yeah. So it was very.
And I've never seen that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
John 5, Candy, right?
Yeah. It's like top 5 comedies. No, I always consider it like more of like a wholesome comedy that you usually don't see on lists, but it's like one of those movies that you see as a kid and you're like, I really enjoy this movie, but never on like a top 5 list. So like when that happened, I'm like, yes, these are the movies that you want like people to like they hold it dear to them, so it should make a list for them. Might not make a all-time list, but for them, it's good. I like that.
What I should have done is, since I wasn't on that one, I didn't think about it till literally just now, but I should have made my list just so I could go over it while we're on the year in review, so I could add my list of top 5 comedy movies.
Yeah, we could add some points, yeah.
But if we do a comedy movies again in the future, then I'll definitely come up with my list.
Yeah. But BD Jake had Birdcage, Hot Fuzz, which I absolutely...
That's my favorite of that trilogy.
Yep.
I love Hot Fuzz.
Young Frankenstein, and then Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Then we had Carl had Rat Race, which that was another surprising one to me. The South Park, Blues Brothers, Death to Smoochie, and Shaun of the Dead. So we had already a start of which one was going to be better, Hot Fuzz or Shaun of the Dead, which I had a feeling was going to be the case. And as we'll figure out later down the line, we can see which one won, which one lost. But to me, Hot Fuzz is the better one. Spoilers.
Amen.
But yeah, and then Fractured was Uncle Buck. Beavis and Butthead Do America. Airplane, which I absolutely love Airplane.
That was funny.
Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure. And then he had Cable Guy, which
I haven't seen Cable Guy, so I don't know anything about that one.
I love the Cable Guy, but I was not expecting someone to have it A, on a list, or B, that high up on a list.
That was Jim Carrey, right?
Yeah, it was Jim
Carrey. Yeah,
that
was rated R, so that's why I didn't see it. And then by the time I was old enough, I just didn't have any interest in watching it.
Yep. And then I believe myself, because
I have your list if you don't.
Yeah, I think I put Tommy Boy, Wayne's World, Happy Gilmore, Dumb and Dumber, which I still absolutely love that movie, and then Monty Python the Holy Grail.
So you and Jake both had Holy Grail as your number one.
And Monty Python the Holy Grail is my favorite movie of all time. So
that's your favorite movie of all time? Yep. I did not know that.
Yeah, that is my favorite movie of all time.
I haven't seen that movie since high school. It's been a very long time.
Yeah, I remember the first time my friend making me watch it, and I probably watched it 8 times that weekend because I couldn't stop laughing, and I still didn't stop laughing at the silly jokes.
God, well, the first time I watched it, I was just like, "What was the whole ending?" I did not understand it. I was like, "That was the stupidest ending I've ever seen."
Oh, it's the greatest. There was no point to the ending. Like, yeah. So Lancelot killed the reporter, and he went to jail. That's it. They didn't find the Holy Grail.
But that is one that even to this day I do still quote it myself often, and I do see it quoted quite often as well.
Yep. And then
I think just a week ago, I saw someone super chat in a stream that I was watching something about the African versus European swallows.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's so good. Oh yeah. And then and there's so many jokes too. Like you have to, because it is a British comedy. Like if you get a chance and have like subtitles up and slow everything down and read what they're saying, and just like your brain just like explodes because how detailed they're trying to get into stuff. Or again, the European versus African swallow debate the whole time. Like you'll see like the little jokes on the inside where Belvedere is taking a coconut and a swallow and trying to make one fly to see if it would fly, and it's just a tiny little thing before the witch trial. But you're like, oh my god, they're trying to test to see if a coconut can be carried by a bird, and what they're going with. So like, there's so many little things in the whole entire movie that they're just callbacks, and it's fantastic.
So just off the top of my head, ranking my favorite out of the ones that were chosen by you four. So this wouldn't necessarily be my list if I was picking all comedy movies, but out of the ones that were picked here, if I was to create a top 5 out of these options, I'd probably say, I just had it in my head. Probably Bill and Ted at number 5. I think Airplane at 4. Probably Happy Gilmore at 3. Tommy Boy at 2. And Hot Fuzz at 1. That'd probably be my list if I was just picking out of your guys' picks.
Well, that would have changed the order a little bit, but again, you probably had other movies that you'd add to. But yeah, our order would have started with Young Frankenstein 5, Uncle Buck 4, Cable Guy 3, Shaun of the Dead 2, and then Holy Grail as our favorite so far in our top 5.
So, but yeah, that would not be my list if I was picking all movies, but just out of the ones that you guys picked, that would be my top 5 out of those options. So, all right. Anything else on comedy movies?
No, that was another lot of fun.
All right. So next one up was our longest one ever, episode 8, Star Wars Games. So our panel was obviously, besides the two of us, was Carl, JT Epsilon making his top 5 debut, BD Jake, although unfortunately he had to bounce out early, and we still haven't gotten him back on because he also was not able to make it for Star Wars Games Part 2. So his top 5 list is still incomplete. And Fractured Filter. So Fractured Filter's number 5 was Star Wars Galaxies. His number 4 was Republic Commando. His number 3 was KOTOR 1. His number 2 is Jedi Outcast, and his number 1 was a bit of a surprise, and that was Shadows of the Empire. So, and then Jake's list, he had to go early, so we only got his number 5 and number 4. But his number 5 was Jedi Academy, and his number 4 was Jedi Outcast. So look forward to get him on for whenever we do Star Wars Games Part 3, which if we, that could very well be our first Part 3 of an episode where we return to the topic for a third time. JT Epsilon's top 5 was number 5, Jedi Academy. Number 4, Star Wars Galaxies. Number 3, Empire at War. Number 2, Republic Commando. And number 1, Knights of the Old Republic 1. And then if you do want to go over Carl's in your own.
Yeah, Carl had Pod Racer, which I believe he came up with it, or I told him about the actual Pod Racer for the Sega version, which I think he tried. If he's still in chat, he can correct me if I'm wrong. Phantom Menace, Knights of the Republic 2, the PS2 Battlefront 2, and then Knights of the Republic 1 was his number 1.
Lots of, so far, no surprise on what the group rank of number 1 is going to be.
Pretty much. Yeah, this one was an easy one.
And then, you had some.
You
had some surprise picks for yours for sure.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Star Wars, but I am nowhere near a fan of Star Wars as all the guests and everybody that's been on there. So this has been the one that, Carl. Yeah, I told Carl about the podcast one, or the Pod Racer one. But anyway, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan out of all the people that we've got on the show. So my list was a little different. I was never a big Knights of the Republic fan. I've tried it. Combat to me is not as fun as I want it to be, so it's hard for me to finish it, knowing that the story is great. But I had Terakasi as number 5 because of potential, and the potential isn't there. This wouldn't be my number 4 at the time because I was playing it during the time, and I still have yet to finish it. But
I'm surprised Masters of Terakasi does not have a retro achievement set yet, but someone is currently working on it.
Oh.
It's a PS1 game. I'm surprised that it does not have an achievement set. So
it's not the most fun game to play. Like I said, it's a wasted potential game. Like there's so much that you could have done with it, and it'd have been so good. But oh well. Fallen Order was my number 4. Didn't finish the game, so I think probably I would be taking that off mine. But again, I was playing at the time and I was enjoying it. But
have you finished it since?
I have not. No.
Oh, okay.
No. Then I had Rogue Squadron 2. For my number 3, the Skywalker Saga Lego version, which still was a lot of fun. And then for sure, my number 1 is the Star Wars Trilogy arcade game.
Yeah, that was a big surprise. I was like, I was not expecting that to get mentioned, much less be it someone's number 1. But then again, your number 1s are sometimes odd, like Metroid 2.
Hey, I mean, it's the better games. Like, it's those games that I wish, like, if I can give people a chance to be like, oh wow, these are actually really, really good. I mean, if there's a reason why people made like AM2, there's reasons why this is because these games were so good, but they were smaller versions, so they didn't give them really big of a chance. But I mean, that's for Metroid 2, I should say. And like the Trilogy arcade, I mean, the people that went to like the Chuck E. Cheese or to the arcades and they saw this big behemoth of a
I always wanted to play that arcade game, but I never got a chance to play it.
And then I mean, people that played them, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that thing was pretty good. Give them a chance.
Does you might have talked about it on that one, but I forget. Does the Trilogy arcade game have a console port?
I believe it did.
If anything,
if I'm not mistaken. Oh man, it would be just called Star Wars Arcade. For some reason, I think it did.
Oh, it looks.
I don't think it's that one.
I'm looking on retro achievements right now, and there is an achievement set for Star Wars Arcade on the Sega 32X.
So that one is the.
I'm assuming that's different though.
Yeah, that's the original Star Wars arcade games.
Okay, because this does not look like the one that I remember.
Yeah, so no, the one that I'm looking at, because I know it was a Sega like Model 3, I believe, arcade system. But yeah, I guess they did not make that one. Interesting. Yeah, no, they did not.
Okay, so yeah, I wonder. Do you know? I know that you said you've got a big arcade place near your place. Do
Yeah.
you know they have this?
Oh, 100%.
They do have it.
Yep. They have
Nice.
the new one and the old one.
Okay. Cool. So, all right. And then for my top five, my number five was TIE Fighter. My number four was Shadows of the Empire. My number three was Dark Forces. My number two was your number three, Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader. And my number one is, I put them together because they're basically the same game, Jedi Outcast / Jedi Academy. But if I had to pick one, it would be Jedi Academy because they took what they did with the Saber Combat and Jedi Outcast and made it even better. And to this day, those are still the best Star Wars games, in my opinion. And we still have nothing that's come close to them when it comes to better games with lightsaber mechanics. So no other game have I ever felt as much of like a Jedi as I did in Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy. So let's see here. No, that is on the next one. So anything else you want to mention about Star Wars games?
No, just group ranking. We had Republic Commando, Jedi Outcasts, Shadow of the Empire, Rogue Leader was a tie, and then Jedi Academy was number 2, and KOTOR was number 1.
KOTOR number 1. Surprise, surprise. Oh yeah, Paul. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, shout out to Galloping Ghosts Arcade. We'll be meeting there in 2 weeks. We're sad Jason can't make it. Yeah, Carl's been mentioning that to Paul and him are going, and that unfortunately Jason's not gonna be able to make it. I'm bummed for you.
It's okay. They'll have fun. They'll think of me. They'll think of me while they're there. They'll be like, "Man, this was the heaven that he was talking about." So, no, I'll be there in spirit.
Maybe you guys can do it again at a later date since you're all in this, in the same area, so it's not that much out of the way for you guys.
They're gonna be bombarded with so much stuff to do that they're gonna feel like, oh crap, I miss all this stuff. So they are gonna want to go back, and sooner than later. So yeah, it'll definitely happen.
So, all right. So that was the reason why that was during May. So we were on Star Wars topics. So we did Star Wars games. Immediately followed episode 9. We did Star Wars characters. And for that one, we had Fractured Filter and Carl back again. And then my buddy IRL Rozik making his YouTube debut, ranking our favorite Star Wars characters. Oh, yeah, Paul saying we'll do another day in the spring for sure. So my buddy Rozik, his number 5 was Palpatine. His number 4 was Nihilus. His number 3 was HK-47. His number 2 is Obi-Wan. And his number 1 was Revan. Do you have this list up with you want to go over a couple?
Yeah, I can do Fractured. Fractured had Anton Rand. Then we had Luke, Canderous Ordo.
Canderous Ordo.
Yeah.
I just forget which. I think he was KOTOR 1.
Okay.
If you guys are there, remind me, is Canderous Ordo from KOTOR 1 or KOTOR 2? I don't remember. He might have been in both.
And then Bane for number 2. And then obviously we kind of knew what Fractured's number 1 was going to be, but
it's his avatar's namesake.
Yeah, exactly.
For basically everything. Kyle Katarn.
Yeah, exactly. And then Carl had General Grievous, HK-47, Admiral Thrawn, Revan, and Jaina Solo.
Yeah, that was cool. Oh yeah, that's right. Because Carl's favorite color is purple, and Jaina has a purple lightsaber, so. That's not the only reason she's at his number 1, but I was surprised to see her that high on his list. So, okay. Oh, Lowest Expectations say, you can put me down for top 5 2024 games if you have a slot. I would not even be able to make a list of 5 games that were released in 2024 yet. Maybe in 2026. We could do that because by then I will have played games that came out in 2024. But sometime in the future, if we do that, I'll put it down on my list of topics and I will put you on there as well. So, and then if you want to go ahead and and Paul's doing the Lord's work. So if any of you guys aren't subbed to Jason's channel, Paul just dropped the link to Jason's channel in the chat. So go ahead.
Yeah, we like to make things confusing for you guys. So we do a simulcast. So like a lot of stuff is on Neo's, and we stream both live on mine and his. Just try to get as many viewers as we can on both sides. Neo does a little bit more of streaming than I do. I do a little bit more, but as of late, so just trying to get the numbers good on both sides. If you want to, awesome. If not, no big deal. As long as you guys are enjoying the material that we present out there, that's all we care about.
And I do have the link to Jason's channel in the stream description it should be in every top 5 as well.
Yeah, it's always there.
He's saying that he saw it in my stream schedule.
Those are games that we played in 2024. Yeah. Which
So
we'll mention that later on.
So that's going to be our next episode of Top 5. And that's games that we played in 2024, not necessarily games that came out in 2024. Although they could be, if you played games in 2024, that would qualify. I didn't even play 5 games that came out in 2024, so I can make a list of games that I played in 2024. I just couldn't put together a list of games that came out in 2024. But if you want to be on that and rank your top 5 favorite games that you played in 2024, you're definitely welcome. So, and Carl's saying top 5 games of 2007. I do have that on my list of topics for favorite top 5 games of X year, and we could go through a bunch of different years and rank our favorite games from that year. We could absolutely do that. So, and then go ahead. Okay, he says I'll be in for that. All right, I'll write you down. So that should be in 2 weeks from tonight, on the 28th. So if you're in for the 28th, ranking your top 5 favorite games that you played in 2024, we'll reach out to you, and yeah. So all right, Jason, and then what was your top 5 favorite Star Wars characters?
So yeah, mine started off with BB-8, and that was only because Bill Hader was the voice, and again, that rolling little ball robot was, to me, I thought was pretty cool.
I did not know that was Bill Hader.
Yeah. Then I had R2D2. Just because, are they still back there? I think they're still back there. I moved them. I had the basic Stormtrooper as my number 3.
That's right. Stormtroopers in general.
Yeah, just a basic Stormtrooper, and then Boba Fett, and then General Grievous.
I'm writing Lowest Expectation down so I don't forget.
Very good.
So, all right. And then for my top 5 favorite Star Wars characters, my number 5 was Boba Fett. Number 4 was Qui-Gon Jinn. And my number 3 was Cade Skywalker. My number 2 was Kyle Katarn. And my number 1 is Darth Bane. So Fractured Knives number 1 and number 2 were flip-flopped from each other.
Yep.
So, and let's see here. I had some notes that I wanted to mention about that one because nothing about really what we were talking about, but it was funny because Duke Devil 95 was watching that stream and he had to leave partway through the stream because he had to go record his review for an episode of Star Trek Discovery, which is lovingly referred to as its acronym of STD. Star Trek Discovery. So he's like, I gotta leave for STD, and Rozix came up with a funny idea. If you started a YouTube channel where you ranked your top 5 STDs based on personal experience. And I thought that was hilarious. So I wrote that down to give a shout out to Rozix because that was really funny.
That's pretty good.
So but yeah, that's about all I have for top 5 Star Wars characters.
Yep. And then our lists. Oh, good.
Let's see here. Oh, you know what? We should have gone to. We'll jump to that one here in a second before we get back on topic. But go ahead and what you were about to say.
Oh yeah, and then they said Boba Fett HK-47 was a tie. General Grievous was there, and then I believe it was then Kyle Katarn, Darth Revan, and Darth Bane led the rest, for Darth Bane being the number 1 character so far that we've ranked.
Excellent. So, I was just thinking I should have jumped to Star Wars Games Part 2, but I forgot. And I just realized that episode 24 of Top 5 is going to be about games that we played in 2024. That just I just noticed that.
I don't know if you I was waiting for you to see if you caught that.
Oh, you did that on purpose? Ah, okay. I didn't realize. I thought it was just coincidental.
No, no.
I just put the 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, no, because I was gonna try to do the 2024 one before this one because then we can have like everything to 2024 all together and then start the next season. But I was like, we're really close to just making 24 and 24. So why don't we do our clip show or our thank you show pretty much before we do that? I'm like, yeah, we'll just delay one. Let's see what happens.
Well, that was good thinking. And Dude is saying that he played one game from 2024 and it won Game of the Year, which was Astrobot. And Carl saying Freddie Mercury would rate his experience of STDs as not great. That's hilarious. So, all right. So we'll go ahead and jump ahead a little bit because we did do a part 2 on Star Wars games as episode 16. And we had another round of panelists join us, and that was Melee James, Angry Canadian, and Star Wars Marvel Purist. So for that one, for Star Wars Marvel Purist, his top 5s were number 5, Star Wars Episode 3, the game, which is very underrated. I always forget about it, but it is one of those games that, video games based on movies are typically not very good. And this game was actually pretty good. And whenever we're talking about good movie-based games, I always forget to mention the Episode 3 game. But Star Wars Marvel Purist's number 4 was Knights of the Old Republic. His number 3 was Jedi Outcast. His number 2 was Knights of the Old Republic 2. And his number 1 was Battlefront 2. Most likely I didn't write it down, but I'm sure he meant the original, not the EA one.
Yeah.
Angry Canadians number 5 coming in with a hot topic, or with dropping the mic with a hot choice was Roblox.
Yeah, I was supposed to say that for number
4. Wait, what?
So you were supposed to save that for number 4, not right off the way. I mean, we need to have that.
Because number 4 is the one that's usually the hot topic. But yeah, so his number 5 was Roblox. Oddly enough, his number 4, I think, was the same because was Fallen Order, which I think was also your number 4, right? I just don't remember which number your Fallen Order was for you. So you and him had the same number 4 at Fallen Order. His Angry Canadian's number 3 was Empire at War. His number 2 was Republic Commando, and his number 1 was also Battlefront 2. And then Melee James's top 5, number 5 was Episode 1 Racer. Number 4 was Lego Star Wars, which I'm assuming he meant the Skywalker Saga, which I think was your number 2?
Yes.
Or was it?
No. Yes.
Yeah. And his number 3 was Battlefront 2. His number 2 was Jedi Academy, and his number 1 was KOTOR 2. So after that one, it really mixed up the standings because it was KOTOR 1 was at the top, and now you had a bunch of people who listed KOTOR 2 as either number 1 or number 2, and you had all 3 of them mentioned Battlefront 2 in their top 5. So those rankings jumped around all over the place. So where were they?
So KOTOR 2 made number 5. Republic Commando went to 4. Jedi Academy went to 3. Knights of the Republic went down to number 2, and then Battlefront 2 went to number 1.
Yeah, that one's
all just
quite
like
the
that.
Switch up. So, lowest expectations. I'm not a Star Wars fan, but I love the OG Battlefront 2. Yeah, pretty much everyone did. It was on all 3 of their lists. And let me jump back to I just realized Star Wars Games Part 1 was episode 8, and Star Wars Games Part 2 was episode 16. So 8 and 16. I didn't realize that. And on episode 1 of Star Wars Games, Battlefront 2 got mentioned only once. So, quite the shakeup after that one. And let's see here. Was there anything else I was going to mention? Nope. My next notes are on a couple episodes from now. So, anything else about Star Wars? I mean, we already went over Star Wars games, so we'll jump back in line. So the one after episode 9 of Star Wars characters was ranking our favorite video game franchises on episode 10. And so that panel, we had JT Epsilon, we had Carl, and we had Dude. So Dude's number 5 was Halo. I don't know why. Dude, remind me why, but for some reason in parentheses I put Warframe in parentheses on number 5 behind Halo. Why did I write that? Was it a tie? and Halo just barely edged it out for you, remind me why Warframe is in parentheses. His number 4 was Final Fantasy. His number 3 was Zelda. His number 2 was Dark Souls, and his number 1 was Metroid. So, why don't you go ahead and take JT Epsilon's?
Yeah, so we had 5 as Assassin's Creed, 4 as Mass Effect, 3 as Witcher, 2 as Knights of the Old Republic, and number 1 is Dragon Age. So a lot of those EA RPGs.
BioWare love in that one. Mass Effect, KOTOR, and Dragon Age, all BioWare.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Carl's top 5 was number 5 was Persona, number 4 was Age of Empires, number 3 was Monster Hunter, number 2 was Pokemon, and number 1 was Mass Effect. And dude saying, I don't know why you have Warframe in parentheses. I don't either. I don't remember why I wrote Warframe in parentheses.
I thought you might have put that because maybe like he plays so much, you're surprised he didn't have that in his top 5.
Maybe that's what it was. And then for my top 5, my number 5 was Ninja Gaiden. Number 4 was Halo. Number 3 was Jedi Knight. Number 2 was Metroid. And my number 1 was also Mass Effect. So, he's saying, unless it was an honorable mention, but it's only one game, not a franchise. That's probably why, because it would have been, but it's not a franchise, so it didn't qualify. I think that's why I wrote it in parentheses. Thank you, dude. Appreciate it. So, and then Jason, what were your top 5 video game franchises?
So my number 5, I can't remember because I have 2 of them listed here. So
I have it written as Mario Party.
Okay, that's what I have one written down, and then I also have like the Midway Sports franchise because NBA Jam, NFL Blitz, all those were my favorite. But I also had Mario Party as well right next to it. So again, that's my notes. I was like, is it Mario Party or was it that? So yeah, Mario Party was my number 5. Mega Man, my number 4. Final Fantasy, my number 3. Mortal Kombat, my number 2, and my number 1 is Resident Evil.
Yeah, and I remember because I was just rewatching that one a couple days ago, and I remember you're like, 1 and 2 are both 1 because I can't. It's like ranking my children.
No, so those are on games. No, Resident Evil was easy for my number 1 for franchise because I like more Resident Evil games. More than other ones.
Which episode was it?
It's probably when we talk about Final Fantasy 7 or Resident Evil 2. That will probably be.
Oh, it was PS1 games.
Yeah,
that's why I was watching just a couple days ago. I was like, episode 10. I would have watched it like a week or 2 ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, getting ahead of myself a little bit.
You're good. Yeah, no, Resident Evil is easy for me because I think there's more Resident Evil games that I like. And then Mortal Kombat, I love Mortal Kombat. Obviously, WB's doing what they're doing right now, which kind of sucks, but the game still is good. And then, like I said, I love Final Fantasy, but I'm a Final Fantasy 7 fan. Other games are great. I still enjoy all of them, but that's why I still had it in my top 5. But again, 7 is my favorite. And then obviously, yeah, the last 2 that I mentioned are great. I mean, if you see any things that are around this office that I have, you could probably, you'll see those little games that franchise I like. So, but with everything, after everything was all said and done, Resident Evil / Dragon Age was number 5, Halo was 4, Final Fantasy 3, Metroid 2, and then I had a feeling this was going to be number 1, but yeah, Mass Effect was number 1.
Thank you, Carl, for backing me up on Mass Effect being both our number 1s. And because we went a little bit out of order in order to keep some of the repeated topics together, I wrote down some notes, but because we haven't gotten to episode 16 in numerical order, we jumped back and then we jumped ahead. A couple things I wrote down on notes that I wanted to talk about on Star Wars Games Part 2 is, I did mention Canadian having Roblox as his number 5. That was, that was something that was painful to hear. But one thing that James mentioned when he was talking about Jedi Academy is he figured out a glitch where you could basically crouch and get stuck in the floor and you move really slow, and they called it snailing. And I remember him talking about the story where him and his whole crew, they all did it at the same time, and they basically raced like it was Mario Kart because they're all like doing this glitch in the ground. So they're all like on on their knees going really slowly and they're basically racing. I was like, that is hilarious. I would have loved to have been part of that.
That's
And another thing that James did on that one is for KOTOR 2 as his number one, he had a prepared statement, which has never happened on Top 5 before or since. He typed out like an essay on why KOTOR 2 was his number one pick. So that was great. So shout out to James for coming more prepared than anyone else has ever come prepared on a Top 5. Myself and Jason included. I've never had a prepared statement for Top 5. So those are a couple things I just wanted to shout out that were great about Top 5 Star Wars games Part 2. So, and Lowest Expectations is coming in with his top 5 favorite franchises in no particular order: Zelda, Drakengard / Nier, the Xenogears / Xenosaga, I'm assuming is what he means by Xeno, the Smash Bros games, and Rock Band. I don't know anything about. I know very little about Drakengard and Nier, and I know nothing about the Xenosaga. But I love Zelda, Smash Bros, and Rock Band. So those 3 I can definitely back up with a, raised fist to support those options. Hey, Static's here. What's up, Static? So we are just going over each episode of Top 5 over the past year since we're coming up on a year, and just going through it and kind of recounting our favorite moments and stuff. So good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well tonight. So we are... Let's see here. We just did episode 10 where we're ranking our top 5 favorite video game franchises. Anything else that you wanted to mention, Jason?
No. Just for the next episode, I was excited. This was one of my kind of ideas. I was excited for it. We had a huge cast, I remember, for it, and then people kept dropping out, like for just dropping out because I think this was our smallest out of
episode 11,
one guest. Yeah,
we had video game convention announcements. Yeah, there was only 3 of us, which I think there was one other episode that there was just 3 of us as well. It was game commercials because it was just you, me, and Carl.
Oh, that's right, and that was another one because and those were all just because I think game. When we get to game commercials, that's one of my favorite. For me personally, one of my favorite episodes because of another one I wanted to do, and 2 because of what happened after the show was over with. It was pretty funny.
So while we were still live though, right? After we got done counting down our top 5?
Yeah, after the whole episode got over with and we were in the back room and I said like, hey, we'll get to it. Yeah. Okay. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Because I wasn't sure if you were talking about after we finished our top 5, because we finished our top 5, we still went like another hour and a half.
Yeah.
Or whether you were talking about backstage after we ended the stream.
Backstage after the show got over with and then everything got done streaming, yeah.
Okay, because I don't even remember, so you're going to have to jog my memory when we get there. But so episode, and Lowest Expectations saying, Xenogears, Xenosaga, and Xenoblade, mostly in favor of the older ones. I know nothing about those franchises, but I know they're popular, so I'm glad that you like them. So, so episode 11, we had a few people drop out, so it just ended up being Jason, myself, and Jason's buddy, IRL, Tyler, and we ranked our favorite video game convention announcements. So... I'll just go ahead and go over mine, and then you can go over Tyler's and yours. So my number 5 was Gears Mad World trailer at E3 2006. My number 4 was Mass Effect at E3 2007. My number 3 was the Link and Ganondorf tech demo at Space World 2000. My number 2 was basically the spiritual successor to that, and that was the Twilight Princess announcement at E3 2004. And then my number 1 was the E3 2006 Halo 3 announcement.
Yep. And then, Tyler had the Fallout 4 at E3 2015, Metroid Dread at E3 2021, the DS announcement at E3 2004, God of War at E3 2016, and then FF7 Remake at the PlayStation Experience 2015.
Now, between you and him, who likes Final Fantasy VII Remake more?
I think I do. I mean,
would he agree to that, or would he say, no, I like it more?
I think I talk about it more, and I like that game more, so I think he might say me.
He would agree with
but
you.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Because like I said,
most likely.
That game to me is, it's so good. But then mine was, because I was there, was
Snake and Tekken question mark at Evo 2019 because those damn bastards at Bandai Namco like to troll us so much, and they put a little Snake teaser at the end of a Tekken 7 announcement, and everybody swore that was coming up soon or whatever like that. So didn't happen.
But he
but
wasn't in the game though,
he
right?
didn't end up
They
in the
just
game.
trolled everyone.
They trolled because it was talked about that he was going to be in the game. So what they did is they did a whole codex thing, and they did it after a Dragunov thing, and they were like, "Oh my god, it's happening!" And then it never happened because
they pulled an epic April Fool's
pretty much
on everyone
in the summertime. Yeah, absolutely. And I said, and again, I was in the crowd when that happened, and we were all didn't know what to think. We were all looking at each other like, "Did that just happen?" Everybody's like freaking out. It was something.
I don't know if, while we're on that topic, I don't think this would probably make his top 5 video game conference announcements, but a shout out to Carl because he was in the crowd at the Diablo Immortal announcement. Don't you guys have phones? He was there. And that was for his bachelor party.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Like one thing seeing these announcements, I love announcements. It's crazy being at one and being at home. Like you're so excited at home, but like it's even like you're like, oh, it can't even be better when you're there. It's like, no, it's a lot better because you were.
Oh, absolutely! It's like the difference between listening to an album and being at a concert.
That's exactly what it is. It's sometimes like, oh yeah, I can just listen to the music and I'll be totally fine with it. But when you get to the concert, like, holy crap, no, it's something different. But
however, sometimes bands are better on their album than they are on their live.
True.
But typically they're better live.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Snake and Tekken.
Carl is saying that was his number 1 of all time, the Diablo Immortal.
And then for bad reasons, because again arcades and everything like that. The Saturn dropped today at $399, and then next thing you know, Sony just comes up and says $299. And that was pretty much the death sentence of Sega Saturn.
That's all they said, right? They didn't say anything. They just said $299 and like walked off stage.
Yeah, Saturn thinks they can get clever, charge a lot, and come out with a shadow drop of a console and not tell retailers, and then those retailers not having ability to sell them. And then Sony just comes out, it's like, no, everybody's getting it. It's going to be $100 cheaper. That's it. Pretty much done deal right there. And then my number 3 would have been the Sony conference of 2016, where the RE7 demo was teased because we had absolutely no idea what this game was. We thought it was a Resident Evil game, but we didn't know because it was first person. You got to play it right after they showed this thing, and then you found out it was RE. My number 2 was KI is back from the Microsoft E3 Experience 2013. I literally bought an Xbox One because of that announcement.
It's hilarious that's that high up there for you, and that's the one where like everyone says like Microsoft killed itself on that one.
Oh man, no, Microsoft saved itself to me. Like they have that thing on Thursday, and I wanna just find a way to be like, please bring Killer Instinct back. I think Dustin just started his thing by himself, and he's asking people ask questions for Phil Spencer. And I'm so tempted to write something really, really nice to Dustin and be like, hey, ask about KI for me, please.
When's Killer Instinct coming back?
Or not even that, just like, why can't you guys bring back, your games for Xbox Live, cheaper games that everybody loved, because that's what KI technically was. Just bring it back somehow. And then my number 1 was the FF7 remake one as well. So,
and what event was that at?
The PlayStation E3 Experience 2015.
2015. Okay. That was 2015?
That was 2015.
That was 10 years ago?
It was 10 years ago, yeah.
Holy shnikes. I would have guessed like maybe 5 years ago.
No, because they showed it. Like the Rebirth came out 5 years ago, but 10 years ago they announced that they're finally going to do it. They kept teasing us, but we're all just sitting watching it, and we see these little wavy lines, which I have as my screensaver, just those wavy lines, and everybody's like, all right, cool. And the next we find out that that was the live stream, and then they're gonna do it. And then I still go back and watch it because the voice that was doing that announcement, that was talking about it, that voice is actually a character in Rebirth and has a very important role in that game. And If you play the newer games, there's always like these little crazy things that are happening. There's a lot of cool things with that stuff. So yeah.
Okay. So Lowest Expectations says, I'm very cynical about advertisements and announcements in general, but the everyone is here for the Smash Ultimate was the best I've ever seen. I don't know that I've actually seen that one. I'll have to look that one up. So, and Carl's asking, can we do top 5 worst announcements of all time? I don't know if I could make a list of I mean, they're definitely out there, but I don't know if I'd be able to make a list. I'd have to do some homework on that one.
I know Wii Music would be up there.
I do remember that one.
That one was hard to watch.
Dude is saying, what's funny is that Killer Instinct slowly became Xbox's Smash Bros. General Ram, Arbiter, and Rash. I don't know who Rash is.
Battletoads.
Oh, Battletoads. Okay. So, all right. I guess we'll move. Let's see. Do I have anything for that one? No, my notes that I have are on our next episode, episode 12. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Episode 12 was Summer Blockbusters. And so this is the first one we did about, well, at least the first one that I was on that we did movies. Mm-hmm. And this was also Nerd Take's debut to the channel, as well as Matt from Criticless, who I have not talked to since, but might have to reach out to him and get him on for another movie-based one. But we were ranking our top 5 favorite summer blockbusters, and I say summer blockbusters in air quotes because it didn't necessarily have to be a blockbuster where they made tons of money. It was basically your top 5 favorite movies that came out between May and August, I think it was.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
So your favorite movies that came out in those months, whether you saw them in theater or not, irrelevant. Just movies that were released in that time frame. So this was a fun one. And before we get on Lowest Expectations, it was the one where they confirmed that no characters from past Smash games were being cut, and previous cut characters were all returning. It was great. I think it was E3 2018. That does ring a bell. I think I do remember that now. I'll have to go double check and see if I have seen that one. But thanks for that reminder. For our, I have some things to say about this one, but for our top 5 favorite summer blockbusters, Matt, his number 5 was Pirates, Curse of the Black Pearl. Pirates of the Caribbean, that is. Number 4 was Mad Max Fury Road. Number 3 was Empire Strikes Back. Number 2 was Pacific Rim. And his number 1 was Baby Driver, which was a bit of a surprise.
That's a surprise too.
So, you want to go ahead and take nerd takes?
Yeah. He started off with Avengers, and then Shrek, which people in my circle know that I have not a quorum with that movie, but people think Shrek's better than.
Shrek versus Aladdin, right?
Yep.
What's your pick between them?
Aladdin all day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the people, it's crazy. Like, I had tallies at one point. It is crazy how 50-50 it is.
I forgot to write that down that you asked about that, but I do remember.
It's crazy how 50-50 that is. And to me, I'm like, no, Aladdin is 4-1 odds favorites in my opinion over Shrek. But
agreed.
That's me.
But yeah, Aladdin was my favorite Disney movie as a kid.
Same.
And I've only seen Shrek 1 once, and I don't think I've seen any of the other Shreks.
And this is not me not trying to, but I literally laugh out loud during Aladdin. I laugh maybe at 2-3 spots in Shrek pretty out loud, and that's all because of the gingerbread man and because of the whatchamacallit, when they get to the castle and the whatchamacallit, when they enter the thing, I can't remember, but the song that they sing. Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't even matter.
When they get to basically the Hollywood land.
Yeah.
Yeah, the song, that's what I was thinking of. Oh, and yeah, I'm not even going to acknowledge what Carl just said.
Hey, see, I told you they're out there. That's why it's crazy. It's so 50-50. It's not even insane. But anyway, Men in Black was number 3, Spider-Man number 2, and Dark Knight number 1.
Good list. And dude is saying that his favorite Disney film was Hercules. James Woods killed his role. Yeah, that was the first role I ever remember James Wood from. He did a great job as Bless. What's his name? God of the Dead.
Hades.
Hades. So he did a great job as Hades in that one. Yeah.
We will see the chat for this one though. Static saying is a go. Yes, you are correct.
Static backing us up with Aladdin.
Yeah, we did see that one in chat.
Yeah. So So I'm gonna do my top 4, and let you do your top 4 on this one as well. So, because I have something to say about that. So, for my number 5 was Top Gun Maverick. My number 4 was The Rock. My number 3 was Avengers. My number 2 was Dark Knight. And Jason, what are your top 4?
Would have been Beverly Hills Cop 2, Mortal Kombat, Dark Knight, and Jurassic Park.
And the reason why I did that is because we both had the same number 1 for this one, which was great. Because on this episode, he asked me to go first on our number 1s, and I started describing it without saying what it was. And he's like, yep. And then as soon as I said it, he's like, I knew it. So our number 1 for both of us, which I'll have to go back and double check. I want to say this is the first time we both had the same choice for number 1. And that was Terminator 2, the best sequel of all time.
Oh yeah. My favorite action movie of all time too. Like Hot Fuzz is up there, but there's a little comedy, but this is like I strictly like if I'm watching this movie, I absolutely love this movie.
It is so good. Terminator 2 is phenomenal. So I'm ignoring Carl again. But yeah, Terminator 2 was both of our number 1s. And let's see here. I wrote down. So what did I not? Oh, yeah, that's what I wrote down, is that Jason and I both had Terminator 2 as our favorite summer blockbuster. So no one had Jaws, #rigged. No one did have Jaws. That's right.
Yeah.
I did not care for Jaws. I saw it once, way too young, and that movie scared the crap out of me, and I didn't want to go near the ocean for a very long time.
It did what it was supposed to do then.
So, but yeah, anything else you want to touch on summer blockbusters?
No, we just had a big tie at number 5 for Jurassic Park, Spider-Man, Pacific Rim. Baby Driver was number 4, Avengers number 3, T2. Though being our list, our show, and both of us being number 1, T2 is number 2, and then Dark Knight was number 1.
T2 should have been number 1, but you deranked it since we're the host of the show, so it doesn't overpower too much.
And again, this is where that point system that I developed for sure, like 5-6 episodes ago, finally came in, because I'm like looking at my notes, and now my notes are actually looking all very samey from now on. So this is where I definitely had my everything ready to go.
Well, it's also because Matt, out of the 4 of us, Matt's the only one who didn't have Dark Knight in his top 3.
Yep.
Because I had it at number 2, you had it at number 3, and Nerd Takes had it at number 1. Yeah. So I guess, that's fair enough that Dark Knight was at number 1.
Yeah, as I said, it's unfortunate for us, but it made sense.
So, but yeah, we, as you guys know, we create our lists, and it's all surprise. We don't know what our lists are going to be until we're live. We don't talk about it beforehand. So we did not coordinate Terminator 2. That was just both naturally our number 1 pick. And I'm going to find out here in just a second.
Yeah, I believe Men in Black came out in July, if I'm not mistaken.
July 2nd, 1997. So yes, it did
Will Smith
qualify.
was the king of the 4th of July movies, and it was just around there.
That's because Independence Day came out in 96, and then Men in Black came out in 97. So I did have Independence Day on my honorable mentions. I do know that.
Yeah, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I had 10 honorable mention movies. I wrote a 15. 4, 5,
I had 7.
Yeah, I had 15 movies listed, and yeah.
So, but that was a fun one. Let's see here. Have we done any other? Yeah, we did spooky movies,
which is crazy. That's my biggest viewed. I guess because we did it right time too. We did it during
we did the spooky stuff in October.
Halloween. So that's my most viewed. On my side of the channel, my most viewed one.
That's a good question. I'm gonna go take a look. But yeah, other than spooky movies and summer blockbusters, I think those are the only. Oh, and comedy movies, which I wasn't on that one, but those are our movie-based ones.
Yeah, we did spooky movies, video game movies, comedy movies, and summer blockbusters. So yeah, 4 total movie ones.
All right. Well, so far, let's see here. Oh no. So far, interesting. I'm looking through all of them so far to see which one, see how many views are on each one. And yeah, Not spooky movies. Spooky video games is my number one most viewed
Okay.
top 5 by quite a bit. So, but yeah, we'll get to that one here. So yeah, number 12 was Summer.
Oh, doggy.
Are you okay, buddy? Oh, what happened? Sorry, go ahead and take over for.
No, you're good. All right. So yeah. So the next episode was our episode 13 Xbox 360 games. This one, like I said, I know our Star Wars one is our longest episode, but I think this one, in like density wise of just gaming content, was pretty much our longest episode, just because there's not a lot of side tangents. We had a lot to get done with 360 games. There's a lot of people that love the 360. Again, I think this is the time where everybody that was on the show like had one of these systems. Where me being a Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, regular Nintendo style stuff there. This everybody had a 360, and everybody had their little bite-sized packets of what they loved out of the 360 more than anything. We had obviously Carl, James, and Dude on the show with us to go through everything. James had number 5, Alan Wake.
This one was
Crackdown.
1 minute shorter than our longest
Yeah,
one.
it was
so
just 1 minute,
almost
yeah.
there.
Yep. So this one should be our longest episode in a way. Spiritually, to me, it is, because, like I said, of what we had to cover and everything. But yeah, but it's not officially holding the title. But yeah, James had Alan Wake number 5, Crackdown number 4, Gears of War number 3, Mass Effect number 2, and Halo 3 number 1.
Yeah.
Then Dude let us off with Batman Arkham Asylum, Black Ops 2, BioShock, Dark Souls, and then Halo 3. So we already saw a pretty big, trend already starting to happen right there.
Yeah, I figured Halo, going into this, I knew Halo 3 was going to be up there.
Yep.
But yeah, Carl's saying he thought that was his dog for a second. Hope he's okay. I have no idea what happened, because I don't even think I even moved, so I have no idea what hit him, but he's all right.
Got a little spooked.
But yeah, Carl's top 5. His number 5 was Catherine. Number 4 was Alan Wake. Number 3 was Forza Horizon. Number 2 was Halo 3. Number 1 was Mass Effect 2. My own, oddly enough, well, you didn't have Halo 3 on your list, but of the other 4 of us, we all had Halo 3 on our list. I was one that had Halo 3 at the lowest, but my number 5 was Skyrim. My number 4 was Halo 3. My number 3 was Portal 2. My number 2 was Shadow Complex. My number 1 is my favorite game of all time, Mass Effect 3.
Yep. And then, so my list, I had for my so Shadow Complex is my number 5.
Yeah.
Modern Warfare, the original, so Modern Warfare Call of Duty 4 was my number 4. I forfeited my number 3 spot because I put the Resurrection of Fighters is on that one, because again, fighting game guy. Street Fighter 4 came out, Mortal Kombat 9 came out, Street Fighter 3 Online Edition came out, Marvel vs. Capcom came out, Virtual Fighter 5 came out. There's like all these games that were the fighting game scene was kind of dying, they were saying. But like the 360 says, like, nah. We're back. We're bringing back all the games that you loved back in the arcade, and this is what they're gonna look like now. They don't have to be all 3D fighters. They can still be 2D fighters and still live. And we can bring back the ones that you loved, because online is going to be better now because of the 360 and the PlayStation 3 and all that kind of stuff. So that was my number 3. Kind of a forfeit of an answer, and I was totally cool with that. BioShock was my number 2. And then I had Rock Band number 3 as my number 1, because that was during the time where I was playing a lot of fighting games and a lot of rhythm games. And yeah, Rock Band 3 is still high tier. One of the reasons why I still have an Xbox One sitting by it next to me.
Rock Band 3, it pained me to kick it off my top 5 list. I was trying to keep it on my top 5 list, but I was like, hey, I have to only have 5, so it got bumped down to my number 6. But yeah, I absolutely love Rock Band 3 to death. So it pained me to not put it on my list.
Yep.
The main reason why I took it off is just because of all the equipment and setup that it's a bit of a hassle to play it. That's the one thing that I was like, why I took it off my top 5.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it is a pain, but
Lowest Limitations, Rock Band 3 is the GOAT.
It is. I with all DLC, I think it is probably
not counting like arcade sticks as I have a collection of, but like game DLC, I think is the most I've ever spent on a game because I have over 1,000 songs, maybe more. I can't remember how many I have now, but and
I
those
don't have
songs weren't
that
cheap.
many, but I got a good choice as well. I've probably
Yeah.
got 100 or two at least.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous. Again, that's the reason why I'll never get rid of my Xbox is because I can't. It will make me sick to get rid of all that music. So, but yeah, no, that was easy for me to put as my number one song for the 360 or game for the 360.
Favorite game, yeah. So
Yeah, and
let's see
then
here.
altogether we had Alan Wake number 5, which I was kind of surprised it would have made the top 5 for 360 games, but again, it's a good game. Shadow Complex number 4, BioShock 3, and then I kind of cheated for Mass Effect fans because we had 3, 2, and 1, and I don't think it was fair to kick any of them off. But I put the whole franchise as number 2.
Okay, yeah,
Made up
fair.
for it for now,
Makes
and
sense.
then obviously Halo 3 would.
James had Mass Effect 1 as his number 2. Carl had
Yeah.
Mass Effect 2 as his number 1, and then I had Mass Effect 3 as my number 1. So we had the whole trilogy.
Yeah, so I just like, you know what? That I can't put the Mass Effect as number 1, but I'll put it as number 2 because it's just everybody loves that game for those that franchise for different games. You could sit as number 2, and then there was a lot more Halo 3. So
Yeah, so Halo 3 was at number 1, which makes sense. So yeah, Carl saying I didn't realize how many of these I was on. Yeah, and we're only like halfway right now. We're on 13 out of 23.
Yeah, because I think he was on the next episode as well.
Yeah, Carl's been on a lot of them. He's probably been our most recurring guest. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
Lowest I've seen, although they really dropped talking about Rock Band 3, they really dropped the ball with the keyboard, not supporting many old songs that would have been awesome to play on the keys.
I was really hoping the keyboard was going to do more too. I have mine sitting in my Rock Band storage area, but yeah, I was really hoping the keyboard was going to do a little bit more.
So, all right. And episode 14 was another one that I was not able to be on for one reason because of work, but and so you decided to do a topic that is perfect for me to not be on because I'm not well versed in it. So, what was episode 14?
Yeah, it was top 5 JRPGs, but you say you weren't on it. But as I put on here, I put another moment. I'd be like, "Hey, you don't go here," and that's when you came and trash talked and try to take over the show while we were around halfway done, 3/4 of the way done, anything like that. But yeah, that was
about that. So so this was my number 1 moment of the year when I surprised you all and showed up for JRPGs for a few. I was only on there for about 2 minutes, but I dropped the proper list of top 5 JRPGs. Which I don't even think I have written down here. I'd have to.
Oh no, probably not. Like you said, it was so quick, and we're like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I think I was writing something down or whatever, and it's just next thing I hear your voice. I was like, he's not. Wait, what?
Yeah, because I was working that day, but I was able to get home, and I was I was backstage, and you didn't notice that I was backstage.
No. I was,
because it doesn't pop up and say anything, you have to notice the little circles up in the top right corner, and you didn't notice. So I was waiting for like a lull for a couple minutes, and there was a lull, and so someone said, "Does anyone else?" And then I popped in. I'm like, "Me! It was me, Austin." I do know that reference. So I don't even actually have the list written down since I wasn't on that one. So you're gonna have to go over it. But this one was you, Carl, where Carl says, yeah, this is the one where you and Tyler tried to bully him. But you, Carl, Tyler, and Melee K were in this one.
Yeah. And I forgot what we bullied you on. Because I'm trying to remember. I was like, if I bullied you, it was out of love, as you know that. But anyway, but yeah, so Tyler had Xenoblade Chronicles, Trails of Cold Steel, Shadows of, I forgot, I just wrote Shadows of V, so I can't remember which one that one was off the top of my head. Persona 5 and FF7 for Tyler. Kay had Valkyria Chronicles, Trails of Berseria, Earthbound, Fire Emblem 7, and then Tales of Symphonia. Carl had Fire Emblem Awakening, Pokemon Platinum, Thousand Year Door, Monster Hunter Iceborne, and Persona 3, where I had Pokemon Blue / Yellow, because Blue was the one I originally started with. Yellow was just another one. And then Tactics was my number 4. Secret of Mana number 3. Chrono Trigger my number 2, and FF7 obviously my number 1. So, and then Carl said it was over the Final Fantasy Rich, was I was bullied to replaying, and I bet you're happy that you did, Carl. I bet you happy you did, especially with the Rebirth game that you just got done playing about a month ago as well. So, you're welcome. I like to say. And then yeah, our list was Chrono Trigger number 5, Fire Emblem Awakening number 4, Tales of Symphonia number 3, Persona 3 and 5. I put those were together on number 2, and then obviously number 1 was FF7 as our favorite JRPGs. Which again, I could see this list easily changing a lot because there are a lot of games that people just hold those dearly and can easily move any of those around. Again, the one thing that I was more expecting was like a mention of at least Final Fantasy 6, because again, a lot of people who said, people who like 6 don't like 7, people like 7 don't care for 6. I like them both. 7 is just better in my opinion, but just not even in a mention of it is one of those ones that was just kind of interesting not to see.
So while you were talking, I went back and reviewed the tape. And obviously I meant review the live stream, but people say tape, but I always give people crap when they say, yeah, I taped it. It's like, no, you didn't. We haven't used tape in decades. You recorded it. Or when they say I filmed it, there's no film involved.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I popped in at about 2 hours and 20 minutes out of a 3 hour, 40-minute stream. So it's about 2/3 of the way. So my list of JRPGs. And so for anyone who doesn't know, I don't like JRPGs. I don't like turn-based combat. So I came up with the closest thing I could to a list of JRPGs. And so in my book, that was a turn-based RPG. Whether it was actually a JRPG or not was irrelevant to my list because I have not actually played any JRPGs. But speaking of JRPGs, in Carl and Canadian and I's year-long challenge, Carl challenged me to Blue Dragon, so I very well may play my first real proper JRPG this year. We shall see. But anyways, my list was keep in mind this is just turn-based RPGs or close enough. So my number 5 was South Park Fractured But Whole. Number 3 was Mega Man Battle Network 3. Number 2 was South Park Stick of Truth. Number 2 was Knights of the Old Republic, and my number 1 was Monster Sanctuary. So that was my fake / real to me, dang it, list of my top 5 JRPGs. And that was my favorite moment from the year when I showed up. And I got to my first 3 before you kicked me out of the stream. So that was funny. And then I came back and finished off my top 2 and then let you guys continue with the rest of the stream. So, but yeah, lowest expectations saying his top 5 JRPGs in no particular order: Xenoblade Chronicles, Xenogears, Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, the third. That's a long title. Final Fantasy X. I'm assuming that's Final Fantasy X is the same. Is that right?
Yeah.
Because I've never heard of Final Fantasy X, but I have heard of Final Fantasy X, so I'm assuming that's what that is. And Golden Sun: The Lost Age. Carl's saying it was about Final Fantasy VII remake. Remake is the game I've been bullied by people over. It's very weird.
I think we bully it, but we're so passionate about it because people didn't care for the changes, and that was just where people were playing it and they were like, "Oh, I don't like this because it's different," and it's like, give it a chance. And so I think that's why the people who like that game so much kind of bullies. I don't ever mean it to be bullying. If you hate the game, you hate the game. I completely understand. But I always just be like, if you tell me oh yeah, I played it for a little bit and I just didn't like it and I just didn't give it a chance, I'm like, well, come on, give it a chance. It's really, really good for what it is. And it's not what it's trying to be what you think it is. If you look at it, if it was named FF7-2, people would.
Speaking of,
yeah, exactly.
The X2 doesn't exist, by the way.
Yeah. If this game was called FF7-2, it would get a different chance by people seeing it on the cover. But if they did that, it would also spoil some things in a way. So how they renamed it was fantastic. But to some people that see that, kind of gave them a little bit of, oh, I don't like this. I didn't get what I wanted. It's like, but you got something a little bit better. In my opinion, you got something a little bit better. So.
And Dude is saying that it's funny that he can help me with 3 of my games for our challenge. So that is not off the table. So I may take you up on that. So, Yeah, my next note here is on a couple more episodes from now. But episode 15 was top 5 video game bosses, and we had Carl and Nerd Takes making his video game debut on top 5 because so far he'd only been here for movies. And Dude was on this one as well. So Dude's number 5 was Ridley from Metroid Prime 3 specifically because that was quite a unique fight, which is really cool because you're falling down a shaft, basically like the Balrog fight between the Balrog and Gandalf at the beginning of Lord of the Rings Two Towers. It's basically the same thing that's going on between you and Ridley in Metroid Prime 3 towards the beginning. His number 4 was the King K. Rool fight from Donkey Kong 64 because you have to use all 5 of your characters to fight him, and each character's fight is different. His number 3 was the Nameless King from Dark Souls 3, which I may end up playing. I was never planning on playing Dark Souls 2 and 3, but they are I do get bonus points in our year-long challenge, so I am considering playing Dark Souls 2 and 3, but I have not decided yet. But I may end up fighting the Nameless King. And his number 2 was Virgil from DMC. I'm assuming that's the reboot. And his number 1 was Ganondorf from Twilight Princess. Oh, and Carl saying that, yeah, this is the episode that him and Nerd Takes Jay became friends. So I'm glad I could introduce you guys. And then Jay came on at Carl's show and they talked about sports for a whole bunch, and I was like, sports ball. Lowest Expectation saying Ganon from Ocarina of Time. That is on my list. So Nerd Takes top 5 was number 5 was Ricardo Diaz from GTA Vice City. Number 4, Bowser from Mario 64. Number 3 was Poison Ivy from Arkham Asylum. Number 2, Rodon from Elden Ring. Or Rodin. I'm not sure. How do you know how, Rodon? Okay. And his number 1 was Mr. Freeze from Arkham City. You want to go ahead and take Carl's and yours?
Yeah. Carl had Snoop Dogg number 5, the Wolf Crew number 4.
Snoop Dogg from Def Jam. Yes. Is it just Def Jam or Def Jam Vendetta?
I believe it was. I
only have Def Jam written down, so I'm pretty sure it's not Vendetta.
I think it's Fight for New York.
Oh, Fight for New York.
I could be wrong though, but yes, Wolf Crew, and then it was from the Pokemon game, but I can't say the Pokemon because I can't remember the name of it.
So it's 4 was Star Wolf from Star Fox 64. Cynthia from
Cynthia,
Pokemon Diamond and Pearl.
Thank you. Nyx is number 2, and Fatalis number 1. And then again,
and Nyx was from Persona 3, and Fatalis was Monster Hunter World,
which is Monster Hunter is going to be coming out very soon.
Oh, and Paul's saying Rodon is his next boss in Elden Ring.
Have fun.
All right. Oh, and Carl saying it was from Fight for New York, so you nailed it.
And then these were again, it was boss fights, but again, it's boss fights that you've beaten. So like if you watch somebody beat a really cool epic boss fight,
you had to beat it.
You had to have beaten it. So it's got to be your best boss fight that you have beaten. So my number 5 was Shao Kahn from MK2 and UMK3. We go back on the Rock Band thing, and this is
your number 4, your hot take for your number 4, because it's not technically a boss fight.
Oh, it's technically a boss fight. You cannot tell me that this song.
If it was the end of Guitar Hero 3 and it was the battle against Lou, that would count because that's a boss fight. But just beating a hard song is not a boss fight.
It's like playing a Souls game. When you go into these big things, you have to beat it to move on. That's a boss fight.
By that logic, every song in Rock Band would be a boss fight. Anyways, Jason's number 4 was Green Grass and High Tides from Guitar Hero 1.
That was the most vindicated I've ever felt after beating a boss. I'm not gonna lie. I beat that thing. If you want to watch that episode, watch the episode. You can see how crazy passionate I was about beating that in college and almost waking up my whole entire.
I remember you were telling that story. You were like, everyone was like, "Oh yeah," you woke everyone up at like 3 a.m. They're like, "Oh, I get it. I would too."
And then the Elden Beast for number 3, because that took me for. Thank you, Carl. The Elden Beast and Elden Ring, because that again.
No, that was your number. Oh, wait, did you skip your number 3?
I'm doing it right now.
When you almost woke everyone up, was that from Green Grass and High Tides? Oh, I thought that was your number 3. Was when you beat Mike Tyson in Punch Out.
No, that's number 2. My first, I beat Mike Tyson. Like Mike Tyson's an easier boss fight, but like I beat Mike Tyson probably when I was like 10 years old. But it was just one of those.
Wait. Okay. You said Mike Tyson's your number 2?
Yeah, that's what I have on mine.
On my notes, I have Mike Tyson as number 3 and Greengrass at High Tides at number 4.
Yeah, I have Shao Kahn, Greengrass, High Tides, the Elden Beast from Elden Ring number 3, Mike Tyson number 2.
I have that as your number 2.
Huh. I wonder if I just didn't know how to. I wonder if I misspoke during the episode or if I changed something that I didn't know of.
I'll have to go back and review the tape.
Anyway.
But okay, that's the same ones. They're just flipped on my
and
list.
Then Mike Tyson, I beat him super young, but it's always fun watching people try to beat him. Like it is a hard boss fight, but I was trained so young to play against him, so it's it's hard. Don't get me wrong, but it's also not as hard as people make it out to be. So that was my number 2 is Mike Tyson's, and then Ruby Weapon because that was my as I got older. That boss fight was so hard to me because you had to learn how to play that stuff. So.
And you beat it the most hardest way there is to play it.
Yeah.
Right?
I went in with the full part.
You beat it under the time limit.
No, that was Armor Weapon. That one wasn't as bad. No, I went in Ruby Weapon and I beat him without doing the where you have to knock out 2 of your party members, do this, do that, and I'm getting sand, what is it? Quicksand all away and everything. It sucked. But anyway. But yeah, okay. Ruby Weapon was my number 1. And again, it's still a really cool thing that they brought for over here. But yeah, so with that, what was it? Fatalis was number.
I haven't done mine yet. And so for my top 5, my number 5 was Meta Ridley from Metroid Prime. My number 4 was Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time. Shout out to it was Lowest Expectation who mentioned that. My number 3 was Jay's number 1, which was Mr. Freeze from Arkham City. My number 2 was Wheatley from Portal 2, and my number 1 was Alma from Ninja Gaiden Black.
That was a good one.
So, and before you do that, a couple mentions in chat here. Lowest Expectation says, I don't know how to pronounce this name, but Loey from Trails in the Sky SC. I don't even know what that means, but I've heard of Trails, but I know nothing about the franchise. Or Giant Baby Bowser from Yoshi's Island.
Good song, too.
Carl's agreeing with you, saying that Greengrass and High Tides is a boss fight. I disagree, but Paul says, agreed, every song is a boss if you play it on Expert. I disagree. And Lois is saying that the final boss in Treepang 2 was pretty cool. I just bought that recently. I will be playing that at some point. I just don't know when. And yes, something that gets mentioned very often is that Jason has an advantage for Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, being the son of a boxer. So, and Lois mentions Stelord from Zelda Twilight Princess. I don't remember who that was. Oh, and he's saying the name of that character is Luve, and it's German. So, all right. And over on Rebel Dude is saying that for Virgil for DMC, because every time you fight him, it's the best boss fight in the game. So, with that, what are the overall rankings?
Yeah, Fatalis was number 5, Alma number 4, Ridley number 3, Ganondorf number 2, and Mr. Freeze took number 1.
Yeah, that is a great boss fight because you have to use basically everything in your arsenal to take him down because he learns from your attacks and you can't do the same one twice. So, all right. Episode 16, as mentioned, was Star Wars Games Part 2. Oh, wait, let's see here. Did I have any other notes I wanted to mention? Let me go back to my notes. I feel like there was something I wanted to mention on that one. No, my next one is on our next one here. But yeah, episode 16 we mentioned was Star Wars Games Part 2. Already talked about that. Episode 17 was video game commercials. And this was another one. It was just the 3 of us, you, me, and Carl. Oh, Lois is saying that Treepang 2 is his favorite game from 2023. Nice. Yeah, I've heard good things. So, yeah, so video game commercials, that was a fun one because we went through our top 5s and then we actually watched our number 1s at the end on stream. And then something happened afterwards, which I don't remember. So you're going to have to jog my memory, but we can get to that in a moment.
No, I can do that right now because it sets up for how everything goes. So yeah, we did.
Okay, remind me what happened.
Our top 5. It went great. We'll go through that in just a bit. And then I think at number 3 and number 2, I had the idea of like, oh, as soon as we get to number 1, I'm going to mention like we should watch these on stream. I'm like, they're just video game commercials. No big deal. Nothing bad could happen from this.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about
Nothing bad
this.
could happen from this. So we all go through it. We're like, oh, we'll just watch, we'll just watch our number ones. Should be easy to do that. Got everything all set up, got fine. Went through our number ones. Everybody in chat was enjoying watching these video game commercials that you can go on YouTube and watch them super easy like we did, doing all that fun stuff. Went through everything good, get backstage, get everything set up, and the next thing you know it, we get our first copyright strike. Or I did, at least.
We were streaming the whole thing to both our channels, and Jason got a copy. I did not, for the exact same content, and I thought that was freaking hilarious. I totally forgot about that until just now.
Yep.
Oh, that's
when I know. That's when I knew. I'm like, yep, I made it. I got the copyright strike on these video game commercials for no apparent reason. And then as I pull up our thing, it still says restrictions on episode 17 video game commercials, copyright protected content found. No one allows content to be used. Yeah. So
I did not get it's a copyright claim, not a copyright strike, because you got.
So I had a strike. I had a strike on it, but it took everything down. I had to contact YouTube and be like, I had to write a whole. I did, yeah.
I thought it was just a claim. I didn't realize you actually got a strike.
No, I got a strike, and I had to send.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
so you got the whole ordeal.
I had the whole ordeal.
Oh my goodness, that is nuts. Did it say which one it was for? Which commercial?
It was muted. I forgot which one it was. Because it was muted for the longest time after because they had it highlighted red for where it was at. And I was like, I got this off of YouTube. We were doing this. Not making money. I had to write a whole thing on it. And then, because forever, the episode was just gone off of my channel. And I had to put yours. I had to put yours for a long time. And then they gave it back to me. But then they gave me the claim and they gave me the video back. But I was like,
I thought it was just a claim. I didn't realize it was a copyright strike.
It's a claim now, but it was a strike at the time. I had to write.
Oh my goodness. I did not realize that. Because I've gotten a couple claims from some of, and it's always from my game streams. I haven't had that many, but I got a couple of claims from my Republic Commando playthroughs because of the John Williams music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Claim would have been.
But yeah, Carl forgot about it as well.
Claim would have been fine with, but yeah, no, I had to go through the whole thing of being like, oh, copyright, cool. All right, what do I need to do next? Oh, I gotta request this, send this, cool. And then they gave me I got the video back at least, so that was cool. But yeah, that was one of my favorite things because I was like, all right, great idea. Turned into me learning the whole ordeal of YouTube and using their stuff online. So it was great.
Yeah, that is funny. So, but yeah, so we towards the end, Jason's like, "Hey, why don't we watch our number ones?" Or no, we watched every one of these, not just our number ones.
I think we started. Yeah, we started not doing that, but yeah, then we started like, you know what? Let's just do them all because, again, it was only 3 of us, and again, who doesn't like a commercial? So
it might
have been Kingdom Hearts.
I forget which one.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was Kingdom Hearts.
What? I swear that there was a top 5 where on our number ones we watched something, but not.
They probably been. They could have been the conferences.
So, but yeah, so we watched all of our top 5s on stream for this one. So, so for Carl's, his number 5 was Pokemon. This is video game commercials. Mm-hmm. And it was the one where all the Pokemon get in the bus and the bus gets in the trash compactor. Yep. His number 4 was for World of Warcraft, and they had a whole bunch of trailers with different people highlighted, and he picked the one for Mr. T with the Night Elf Mohawk, fool. But we watched a couple of the other ones. My favorite one of those was the Chuck Norris one. His number 3 was Monster Hunter World, and it was the Japanese commercial, and this guy was just like, in his natural like work setting, but he was like acting like the monsters from Monster Hunter, and it was pretty funny because he's like screeching like a crazy person. His number 2 was the Halo 3 Believe ad with the giant diorama, and his number 1 was Mass Effect 2, and it was like 4.5 minutes of like covering like almost every party member and why they're following Commander Shepard. And I forgot that trailer even existed. If I had remembered it, it might have been my number 1 as well. So, did you have something you wanted to mention?
I got my list pulled up. I believe it was one of the Halo 3s that got me knocked. Now it was that or Kingdom Hearts. It was Halo or Kingdom Hearts
that for the copyright strike.
It was one of those two. I'm not looking at the list. I'm like, it was definitely one of those two.
So, Carl says it would have been the shortest episode if we didn't have the fun jam session. Yeah, this is oh no. The one that you're thinking of was video game. No, yeah, you're right. It was video game commercials. Because we went on for like it was this one. We watched them, and because there's only 3 of us. We were done in like an hour and a half, which would have been the shortest top 5 ever. But then we decided to watch all of our honorable mentions as well, and so we went for like another hour and a half just watching commercials, and so that was great. So that's right.
It was one of my favorite concepts of an idea for another one. Like it was just like no one's really done this before, and then again, it's always fun just getting people together and just like, hey, these are things that sold us games besides the magazines. Let's just see how they hold up today, and are they still as good as they are? And a lot of them are.
Yeah. So and then your top 5.
My number 5 was Moonwalker,
and that was on Genesis.
Was Genesis. Yep.
Okay.
Number 4 was She Kicks High for DOA 3.
Yeah, that one was funny. I don't think I'd ever seen that one before, but it's like these 2 nerdy guys that were like in love with the beautiful women in DOA 3, and at the very end, Kasumi does like a completely perfectly vertical kick, and he's like,
"Yeah, we love this game." Well, she kicks high. And then
and they're talking about like the texture bump mapping and stuff, and it's showing the beautiful video game waifus like beating the crap out of each other.
Super Smash 64. We all saw that one so many times.
Which was this is your number 3. This one was also my number 3. So it was funny because I went first, and then you're like, you know what? My number 3 is also Smash Brothers, and that's such a great one because it's got Mario, Donkey Kong, Pikachu, and Yoshi, holding hands, going through a beautiful field, and then they start beating the crap out of each other. Such a great commercial,
especially for not even like now we want Smashes today, but like Smash being a brand new game and not knowing it is, and you just seeing these Nintendo mascots beating each other up in a sunflower field. You're like, oh man, this is actually kind of cool. Like, great idea to kick off a franchise to now what it is we know today, kind of thing. My number 2 is Kingdom Hearts, just because of Simple and Clean. And
that's the song, right? That might have gotten you the copyright strike.
Yeah. If it's not this one, like I said, it was Halo or this one. I'm pretty sure it was this one, but for some odd reason, I thought Halo was it.
That would be my guess.
But like I said, I think it was this one because I was like, oh yeah, this. But for some odd reason, I thought this one didn't get it to me, and it was Halo because I thought this one would have gotten it for me. It was anyway confusing. It happened. We all know. And then Mortal Monday was my number 1.
Mortal Kombat.
Oh, and then I remember the episode like during honorable mentions. And then there are honorable mentions. I think I showed you guys all the Sega Santuro commercials.
Yeah, Sega Shiro. That was great because I just rewatched that one just recently. Just a couple days ago. So my favorite one was when he
kicks the baseball,
the soccer ball, and like someone explodes.
Oh yeah, there's that one, and then like I said, he hits the home run with his foot. Yeah, there's some the Sega San.
No, my favorite was the soccer one. And like something exploded. Yeah. That was hilarious.
The Sega San saga is so good, especially because they sell games, and then there's a story at the very end, and it's so good.
I didn't write down any of. I have my honorable mentions. Let's see. Oh, I still have to go over mine. So my top 5 My number 5 was the Dead Island trailer, which is playing in reverse, and it's a tragic story of the family on vacation.
Yeah.
It's a really it's sad, but it's a really
My
like moving
Yeah, my
trailer.
favorite and unfavorite thing of all time, because I bought the game because of that, and I played. I'm like, this isn't exactly what I wanted, and I was
And the game
so
wasn't.
sad.
I think a lot of people had that problem. But then my number 4 was, it wasn't even a commercial for a game. It was just for Xbox 360 in general. And I had forgotten this trailer existed until I came across it. I'm like, oh yeah, I love that trailer. And it's like in a New York subway station. And all of a sudden everyone's pulling out finger guns at each other. And everyone just starts shooting each other. And people are like dying. And the guy comes out and he shoots the guy in all with finger guns. He shoots the guy who's in the front seat of the taxi, and he's on his phone, and he shoots him. He's like, come on. And he's on his phone. He's like, just a second. And he hangs up the phone. He's like,
yep.
It was just hilarious. It's just such a great trailer. I love that one. And I don't know why I didn't mention it, because I was thinking about it while I was rewatching this episode the other day. But I didn't mention it on that stream when we were doing this. It's just like there's a segment that's just like that in Tales from the Borderlands. If you ever played Tales from the Borderlands, everyone in this office complex has a finger gun battle, and it was just like that. But that was a great commercial. My number 3 was, as mentioned, was also the original Smash Brothers trailer. My number 2 was the Halo 3 Starry Night one, not the Believe one. And that's the one where it's the 2 kids in the grass looking up the night sky, and then all of a sudden it's in the middle of the battlefield, and Master Chief gets up and puts his helmet on, throws down the shield grenade, and then runs and jumps into all the brutes. I love that trailer. And then my number 1 was my introduction to this song, Mad World, was the Gears of War 1 trailer. I like Gears. I'm not huge on the Gears games, but that trailer really got me. And that's a fantastic trailer. So, and then my honorable mentions was which I think got mentioned on a later episode, but Life is Short, the Xbox commercial where the lady gives birth and the baby just goes flying out the window, and he ages, and then he goes straight into the cemetery, or into the coffin as an old guy. That I love that one. And then PlayStation's commercial for Michael, because it had a bunch of different PlayStation characters in it, and they were all together in a pub, and they all toasted to Michael. And that was really touching, because Michael was a huge PlayStation gamer, and he passed away due to cancer. And so that commercial was to honor Michael. I thought that was really cool. You had covered it on yours, but just the whole Genesis Does What Nintendo campaign was great. And then the other one in my honorable mentions was the Robin Williams and his daughter Zelda doing a bunch of commercials for a bunch of different Zelda games. So Carl's saying Bomberman was the best. I don't think I ever saw the Bomberman commercial, but he's saying we need a top 5 cameos in gaming. I'll add it to the list. So, and Amon Ra's here. What's Amon Ra? What's up, Amon Ra? Good to see you, buddy. Moo to you. So cameos. All right, it's on the list. So, anything else you want to mention about video game commercials?
I said that was one of my favorite episodes, even though I got the full YouTube.
You got a copyright
I got the full
strike.
YouTube run around, but another one of my favorite was random concepts that I just like. Yeah, like as you can see, the top 5s that are the wackier ones, or the ones that we all kind of think of, are always my favorites, just because like everybody has their feelings on games, but like we all had the same subject of watching these same commercials or these same exact announcements, or all this kind of stuff, to see what people were, what their concepts of enjoyment of these commercials were. It was always my favorite.
So episode 18 and 19 were in October, so they were spooky themed. So we did 18 for episode 18, we did spooky games, and for episode 19, we did spooky movies. As I mentioned many times in both of those streams, that I don't typically do spooky, so my list is very. I got a lot of boos from the chat on some of my choices for these. But I was like, I will take your booze because I don't like spooky, so I don't have a whole lot to pick
so
from.
this was the episode that you took a little bit of the heat off of me. So I was it was about time.
So for spooky games, we had Carl and Fractured Filter join us. And so Filter's top 5 was number 5, BioShock, number 4, Alien Isolation, number 3, Resident Evil 2, although I did not write down whether it was the original or the remake.
I believe it was
Do
the
you happen
remake.
to have that?
Yeah.
The remake? Okay. His number 2 was Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines, and Fractured Filter's number 1 favorite spooky game is System Shock 2.
And then, yeah, we had Carl as well. Carl had Ghostbusters, Left 4 Dead 2, Dino Crisis, which I got done playing a little bit of again, and I watched someone else finish the game. Man, people want Dino Crisis, and I think it needs to be made again. But, man, the original Dino Crisis was such a great concept game that needs a little bit more ironing out because it has a good memory from back then, but it doesn't translate till today. But that's just what I'm gonna leave at. And this is me, the Capcom guy, saying it. I just would like to see another one because again, it was such a great idea, but we'll see what it goes with. Carl had number 2.
Rumble saying heading out. Have a good night. So have a good night, dude. I will see you tomorrow for Dude Souls. Have a good night, buddy. So go ahead with the rest of Carl's.
Yep. Slay the Princess was number 2, and then Hellblade was number 1.
Yeah, I didn't even think about Hellblade. But I liked mine. So I'll go ahead and go, and then you can do yours. So, although my spooky game list is definitely a better selection of spooky games than my selection of spooky movies. So, but for my number 5, my was Alien vs. Predator 2, which I think was from like 90. It was somewhere in the mid 90s. And that was specifically for the Marine campaign because that game as a Marine was terrifying because all you got is this dinky little flashlight. You do get night vision, but your night vision is basically useless because anytime you fire your gun, your muzzle flash blinds you. The Predator campaign in that game is awesome, as is the Xenomorph campaign, but the Marine campaign is freaking terrifying. My number 4 was just the Arkham games in general, mostly Arkham Asylum. That's probably the spookiest of them, with the heavy influence on not heavy influence, but Scarecrow had a much bigger part in that one. I don't even remember if he was even in Arkham City. But my number 3 was Half-Life. My number 2 was Control, and my number 1 is Doom Eternal. It's got demons, and demons are spooky. You know, obviously the game isn't actually scary, as the only real scary Doom game is Doom 3. But like I said, I don't like scary. But it's got demons and hell involved, so that counts as spooky in my book. So Doom Eternal is my number 1. And yeah, Lowest Expectation is with me, saying not much of a horror fan. Otherwise, his number 1 for spooky game would be Super Metroid. I would say it's on the. I know I'm not really one to speak when it comes to spooky, but I would say that's kind of on the verge. So
yeah, it's based off of Alien. Yeah, it's based off of an Alien, and Alien is spooky. So I mean,
I did have Super Metroid in my honorable mentions because it is heavily based on Alien, which is Alien is terrifying. So yes. That's why I put Super Metroid in my honorable mentions. And then what were yours, Jason?
Yeah, so mine, I started mine off with a multiplayer game because, again, if you could scare somebody with friends, then it is scary. But Phasmophobia, I remember playing that game and never, ever wanting to go back for my friends if they were lost. I'm like, you're screwed. You're in that room. You messed up. You're deal with it yourself. Silent Hill 2 is my number 4. PT, rest in peace. Hopefully you come back someday. Dead Space number 2. And then Resident Evil 2/RE Remake was my number 1, but I gave it to 2 because, again, that's my favorite game. But I do think Resident Evil Remake on the GameCube is one of the scariest Resident Evil games you can play.
Okay. So, hey, we got a couple other people joining the party. Snapple Rai is here saying, hello, I'm late to the party. Good to see you, as always, Snapple. And James is here as well, saying, oh, yeah, Metroid is intended for spooks. What's up, James? Good to see you tonight, buddy. You've been mentioned a few times because we are just
Just a
going
little
through
bit.
each of our episodes of top 5 so far and talk about our favorite moments. So
Yep.
good
You were-
to see you.
Especially on episode 2 when, when we got along and the Mega Powers reunited against K. That was
Yeah.
such a long time ago.
Towards the beginning of the stream, we were talking about how you picked Kirby for your number 4 Mario game, and Jason picked Metal Gear Solid for his number 4 Mario game. So
Never forget.
Paul says Resident Evil 4 also gave me a heart attack.
Me-
I haven't beaten it yet. I do have to go back and beat it because I played through most of it, but I just never finished it. But that's the first and only Resident Evil game I've ever played. And I was surprised. I was expecting it to be scary. And I was like, this game isn't. It's definitely spooky, but I wouldn't say Resident Evil 4 was scary. But maybe it was late in the game that I didn't get there yet. Let's see here. Have anything else? No. My next notes are on party members. That's a few episodes away. So yeah, that was our spooky games. Anything else?
No. Alien Isolation got number 5, System Shock number 2, Doom Eternal number 3, Hellblade number 2, and Resident Evil 2 number 1. So that's how that list holds off.
I see how it
now.
is. Putting Resident Evil 2 at the top because it's your favorite, so you get to overrule everyone else.
Yeah.
And James says, "Yep, I stand by that." In regards to the Kirby thing.
Oh yeah.
So, all right. So episode 19 was spooky movies, and this is the one where I got a lot of boos in chat from Timon, Meteor Advocate Timon. Although I think now he's Meteor Herald Timon, but he gave me a lot of boos in chat because my spooky list was not a very good spooky list, and I don't make any arguments that it's not because, as mentioned, I don't really like spooky, so I didn't have a whole lot to choose from. So, Lois Texas Stage is saying it's weird. I don't like horror games, but I often love it when horror elements appear in other games when you least expect it. Keeps things exciting. So, that's good for you. I don't really like spooky in any regard for the most part. But the main thing is I don't do like any like evil demonic type stuff. The closest thing would be like demons in Doom Eternal. But I'm much more okay with like sci-fi type of horror, like Alien. I'm definitely, or like a slasher movie. That's not really like horror. That's just kind of spooky. So, but yeah, I don't really do spooky. So if you want to booby some more on when we're talking about it again, I will take your boos. I totally get it that this is not my area of expertise. So, but yeah, so for this one, we had Carl and Filter joining us for spooky movies. And Carl's number 5 was Night of the Living Dead. His number 4 was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh, I didn't write it down, but it was this stream. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a much older movie than I thought. I thought this movie came out in the early 2000s, and I found out it came out in like the 70s, and the one in the 2000s was a remake. I was like, I did not know that. Yeah. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre was Carl's number 4. Dead Alive was his number 3. His number 2 was The Mummy, and his number 1 was The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. So, let's see here. James is saying we need to culture Neo in horror movies, folks. I know James has also told me that I really need to watch The Thing, and I would probably like it. I don't know when I will get around to watching it, but I may give it a chance at some point. Paul's saying his number 1 spooky game is Dead Space. That was, I think, in some. I didn't write it down, but I think that was Jason's number 2, as mentioned. But I think a couple people had that in their honorable mentions as well. And Stabble saying, so when's the Dead Space playthrough, Neo? I am going to be playing Dead Space. I don't know if I'm going to be streaming it. We'll see. But like I said, sci-fi horror, I'm definitely more open to. So I've been planning on playing Dead Space for a long time. I just haven't gotten to it yet because it's in my backlog. As I mentioned, once I get my achievement percentage back up to where it is, I'm starting a bunch of games, and the whole Dead Space trilogy is in those games that I will be playing. James is saying, just pretend you're Ash Williams. Wrong, but you are Ash Williams. That was another thing I mentioned on this stream is people are saying Ash Williams, and me not knowing a whole lot about the Evil Dead franchise, I'm thinking Ash Lee Williams from Mass Effect, and they're talking about Ash Williams, which is Bruce Campbell's character. I'm like, oh, that makes a lot more sense in the context that you guys are talking about it. James saying watch the original. It's peak. Are you talking about The Thing?
I'm assuming he's talking about Texas Chainsaw.
Oh, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah, I don't have any plans to watch
Yeah.
that one. Paul's saying he needs to play Dead Space again and the remake. I'm planning on just doing the remake. Unless I really like it, then maybe I'll go back and play the original. But
I
we'll
would
see.
just play the remake. The lighting and the game's better, and the remake and the lighting makes it even more so.
Yeah, I was talking to Mark on Party Chat about it a while back when he was still on Party Chat. That in Dead Space, the original, it's all separated into levels, but in the remake, it's all you can go back and forth because it's basically one open ship, which I really like that. And some of the things that a lot of people had issues with, I guess it was like a section where you have to shoot down asteroids with a turret, and that part really sucked. And they either removed it or made it easier. So the remake definitely sounds like the way to go. So Carl says Neo can do blood and guts, but if he hears a weird sound, he's out. Yes, that is pretty accurate. James saying Dead Alive, also great. Yeah, not that Ash Williams. I mean the sexy one played by Bruce Campbell. Yeah, Texas Chainsaw for the original from the 40s is good too. Oh, the original. There's another one. I didn't know that there was a thing from the 40s. I thought the thing was John Carpenter's thing. I thought that was the original. So I'm always learning something new about horror movies because I know almost nothing about about that genre. So, all right. So Fractured's top 5 spooky movies. Number 5 was Tremors. Number 4 was Ernest Scared Stupid. And he prefaced this that his picks were mostly horror comedies. His number 3 was Evil Dead 2. And his number 2 was The Frighteners. And his number 1 was the original Halloween. So for my number 5, like I said, I don't do spooky. And my number 5 was Independence Day because the aliens in Independence Day scared the crap out of me as a kid. My number 4 was a proper spooky movie. That was A Quiet Place. My number 3 is not scary, but it's spooky because it's got vampires and werewolves. That was Van Helsing. And that is the hottest Kate Beckinsale has ever looked, was in Van Helsing, not Underworld, although she was good looking in that as well. But the poll proved me right. It was like 75% in favor of Van Helsing over Underworld. Kate
Part of me
Beckinsale
died after that poll got over with.
There. That's another thing I forgot to write down on my notes, but I remembered that we did the poll. And that was because we were talking about Kate Beckinsale in Van Helsing versus Underworld on Party Chat just prior to that top 5, because Carl was talking about he's going to be playing the Van Helsing game, and then he later realized he didn't actually own the Van Helsing game. But we got on the topic of Kate Beckinsale, and I was like, you know what? When we get to the next top 5, I'm going to do that as a poll. So my number 3 was Van Helsing. My number 2 was Alien versus Predator, and my number 1, it's a murder mystery, so it could be considered a slasher. So it's not scary, but it qualified in my book as a spooky movie, and that was Identity. Although it's more of a psychological thriller, and that one I also got a lot of boos in chat from. But that is a great movie. So, Jason, what were your top 5 spooky
mine
movies?
Wasn't like usually I would do like my favorite. These are actually I took it as these are 5 movies.
That's right. You had 2 separate lists for like actual top 5 scary movies and top 5 like spooky movies that you'd want to watch. And because Filter and I were both like not very spooky, we're like, why don't you do your scary list, not your spooky list? So that's a little addendum to your list.
Yeah, because like I said, I've watched so many horror movies, so I'm like, I have my favorite horror movies that I would like to watch and I enjoy, or I have my top 5 movies that I'm like, no, I'm scared, I do not want to watch these because they are scary. And that's how I took this list. So I put Exorcist number 5, The Ring number 4, Midsommar number 3, Hereditary number 2, and then Texas Chainsaw Massacre number 1. And those to me are, in my opinion, the 5 scariest movies out there. I know there are more that I've missed, but those are 5 that I saw that I'm like, yeah, these things are, nope, I'm good.
And I'm assuming that Texas Chainsaw, since it was mentioned by you and Carl, was our number 1 on the group.
Yeah, Evil Dead 2, number 5, Identity number 4, Halloween number 3, The Thing number 2, and Texas Chainsaw number 1. So our top 3 was pretty solid there too. But again, if we ever do another one for possibly this coming up October, which is far away, but closer than we think. We never know. We'll see. But this list can easily see some revisions down the line as well.
James definitely needs to be on top 5 spooky new movies next time we do
and
it.
then also,
so James, we're
Nerd Takes,
voluntelling you to be on that panel.
and then Nerd Takes needs to join that one too because he was supposed to be on this panel as well, but he
Oh,
forgot
yeah.
it was that night. He thought it was another, like the night after or something like that. He told
That's
us.
right. He got it
Yep.
mixed up, or it might have been my fault because there was one that I accidentally told someone the wrong date. I don't remember which one it was, but there was one that someone couldn't make it, and it was entirely my fault because I screwed up the scheduling. So, James is saying, yeah, Texas Chainsaw, but the original thing from the 40s is good too. Oh yeah, it's based on a book, and the OG movie is like from the 40s or 50s, but Carpenter's is so good people forget about it. Okay, yep, horror comedy is best. That's definitely something I would prefer more. Can't beat the original Halloween. Carl says, yeah, one of the few Jason L's he took was about Van Helsing. James is like, oh no, I'm scared of the Brides of Dracula and Van Helsing. Please don't bite me. Very sarcasm implied because they are quite sexy in that movie, but not as hot as Kate Beckinsale is. But he says my scary movie list would all be rom-coms. Carl says every horror movie is a comedy if you're desensitized. James says I would have seen Detective Pikachu. I have seen Detective Pikachu and was screaming in the theater. That does get mentioned on our very next episode here, which is top 5 video game movies. Paul says 13 Ghosts and Hills Have Eyes are some of my top freaky movies. I have seen 13 Ghosts. I remember very little about it, but I have seen it when I was not expecting to. It was kind of thrust upon me. And James says, I was a snob with horror. And are you sure you want me on? Yes. Well, I want you to rank your top 5 favorite spooky movies. So, yes. So, all right. With that, episode 20 was top 5 video game movies. And that came about because of Party Chat. And my co-host on Party Chat, Ryan's like, hey, if you ever do top 5 video game movies, I'd love to be on that one. And so I was like, all right, well, let's get you on for that one. And so in addition to Ryan from Nerd Takes was on that one as well. And so Ryan's top 5 video game movies, his number 5 was Resident Evil, number 4 was Silent Hill, number 3 was Prince of Persia, which I still haven't watched it since. I do need to go back and watch it again because I have seen it, but I remember nothing about that movie. But it was from Disney, which I did not realize until we were doing that stream. And it made a lot of money. And it's often forgotten. It's like it made like $300 million. And people just like forget that movie even exists. So shout out to the Prince of Persia movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ben Kingsley. And I never know how to pronounce her name, but Gemma Arterton or Arterian or something. I forget. But his number 2 was Tomb Raider, and Ryan's number 1 was Mortal Kombat. So, and Nerd Takes made another return to a top 5. I think that was his 3rd one.
Yes.
And his number 5 was Hitman, the original one with Timothy Olyphant, because the Hitman Agent 47 was not good. His number 4 was Sonic. His number 3, as we were just alluding to, Detective Pikachu. His number 2 was Five Nights at Freddy's. And then for some reason, I don't have his number 1 written down. It's blank on my end. Mario Brothers, thank you. I don't know why mine was blank. And that is not the one from the 90s. That is the one that came out like a year or two ago. That was computer animated. So I'll go ahead and go with mine, then you can talk about yours. So my number 5 was also Mario Brothers, but he had it as number 1. I had it at my number 5. My number 4 was Sonic because I like Sonic more than Mario, even though I played more Mario games than Sonic. But Sonic is a cooler character. My number 3 was Tomb Raider. My number 2 was Free Guy, which Nerd Take said that he completely forgot about that movie, and it would have been on his list if he hadn't forgot about it. But Free Guy, that is a great movie. I want to go watch it again. Just talking about it, I was like, I want to watch this movie again. It's such a fun movie.
I'm looking at my list, and like I said, I remember because mine was Free Guy was my number 4, and I saw your face as soon as I said, I'm like, oh, I think I got something here. And
that's something I mentioned on this stream was because we originally said video game movies, and I originally was thinking stuff like Mortal Kombat and
Yeah.
Tomb Raider that are actually video game movie adaptations. But I was like, I wanted to put Free Guy on my list, so I messaged Jason. I was like, hey, let's make it video game centric movies, not necessarily video game adaptations. He's like,
Yeah, so as long as
absolutely.
it's
And the reason why I
Yeah.
talked about that is because I wanted to put Free Guy on my list.
I said as long as it's not a documentary off of a movie, because there's a lot of good video game documentaries that you could add on it. And it kind of throws things
Right.
off. And again, video game movies are supposed to be bad. Documentaries, it can be a bad documentary, but it's gonna be interesting. I actually have to watch. There's that Resident Evil 1 that just showed up like a week ago. My brother told me I need to watch about Resident Evil and like George A. Romero, so I got to watch that one soon. But anyway, but yeah, no. As soon as I said that, I was like, yeah. And again, Free Guy is such a good movie.
We were before that stream, without saying the name of Free Guy, we were talking about a movie, and I was almost positive he was talking about Free Guy, and he was almost positive I was talking about Free Guy, but we saved it until we were live, and then we talked about Free Guy, and we were both like, "Yep, that's what we were talking about," because that is a fun movie. So if you haven't seen Free Guy, I definitely recommend it. It was a fun movie. And then my number one was a lot of people didn't really care for it, but I love Tron Legacy. I love that movie. So that was my number one video game movie. So, Jason, what were yours?
So my number 5 was Resident Evil. Not the shitty one that Operation Raccoon City, whatever it was, or Welcome to Raccoon City, but the first one, because I was so excited for just seeing that, and it wasn't terrible for what it was. Could have been better. Number 4, as mentioned, was Free Guy. Looking at this list now, I think I'd probably bump it up to number 3. Because again, I watched it, and I've watched it several more times after that. It is a quick, enjoyable movie to watch. It is exactly what you want to see. And again, it's the Wolverine Deadpool movie before that even comes out, because it's made by the same people, and it just has, like, you don't have Deadpool, you just have Ryan Reynolds playing Ryan Reynolds in a video game and doing almost the same stuff, and it's enjoyable. Then I had Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, which I know a couple people said they were gonna test and watch that because that's on YouTube for free to watch, and it's such a good movie.
I did put the link to that, since it is on YouTube. I put the link to it in that stream description. I didn't know that movie existed until this stream.
Great.
Not this one right now, but when we ranked these, I didn't know this Street Fighter animated movie existed until that stream.
And then I had Scott Pilgrim versus the World, another one of my favorite movies of all time. Easily number 2. And then my number 1 is Mortal Kombat. Yes, is it a bad movie?
And not only is Mortal Kombat your favorite video game movie, it's one of your favorite movies, right?
It's easily one of my favorite movies. Like, it is such a another quick watch. It is not a great movie by all means. Everything is so thrown to the wayside and everything like that, but it is so quick and so fast. Like by the time that you feel like, oh, I think I'm starting to feel bored, the movie's almost over with already. And it just leaves you enough to be like, oh yeah, they did it okay. Like, who's Art Lean, but you want him to be a character in the game because he doesn't do anything. He's just this guy that shows up, and then Goro being the biggest diva and how they made him look cool. And there's so many cool things they did with that movie. So yeah, Mortal Kombat 95 was definitely one of my favorite movies.
So, and where's our group rank stand on that one?
So Sonic was number 5, Mario Brothers number 3, tied with Free Guy, Tomb Raider number 2, and Mortal Kombat number 1.
Yeah. So, catching up on chat, James says, you can keep Kate Beckinsale. To me, there's 3 reasons to watch Van Helsing, meaning Dracula's wives. And 13 Ghosts gave him childhood trauma. Understandable. I remember a couple bits of that movie, not much, but I was, I did not want to watch it. I'll say that. If you do video game movies part 2, dibs. All right. Absolutely. Let me go to my list here. I keep doing that. Movies. Where is video game movies? Video game movies. There it is. So I'll add Melee James to that one. So we absolutely, if anyone doesn't know, All the topics we've done, we're happy to revisit them with new panels. So if anyone wants to revisit some of these topics, just let us know. We'll add you to the list and reach out to you when we want to do that topic again to get you on the panel. So I wrote you down, James, for video game movies, and when we do another one. Lowest Expectation says the first Pokemon movie. I think that got a mention in someone's honorable
I believe it
mentions.
did too, yeah.
I think I've seen a grand total of 4 video game movies. I rarely watch movies at all. Well, to each their own. James is saying, I need to see that, Jason, talking about Free Guy. And yes, he's with me. He says,
I think he was talking about the RE
What?
documentary that just popped up, talking about the George A. Romero movie he was supposed to make about Resident Evil that never got canned because George A. Romero got pressured to doing stuff that he didn't want to do. And he's like, well, I'm not doing it. And then it got shelved for the longest time. Yeah.
I thought James was talking about Free Guy when he said, yeah, I need to see
Oh.
that. But James, you have to correct us.
I could be wrong.
But yes, he agrees with me saying Tron Legacy is amazing. I love Tron Legacy. And apparently I am out of my video and audio are out of sync. But apparently I can still be heard all right. But
yeah,
my video
it
is out of
was,
sync.
yeah, your camera kind of like your internet kind of like freaked out for a little bit, but then it keeps coming back and forth. So I think you're okay now.
All right. I have to scroll down because there's more stuff here. Oh yeah, like I'm a bad dub. Yeah, Neo's out of sync. Nobody ranked what would be my number 1. Yeah. Oh, he was talking about the Resident Evil documentary. So you were right. I was wrong. Yeah, I do know that he loves George Romero. So another top 5 idea: best games based off movies. I think I have that on the list here.
Do. I think best video game or best movie video game tie-ins or something like that is what we called it or something.
I'll write it down here. Movie-based games, and I'll go through my list here and add it if it's not. So, it looks like James would want to be on that one as well, based on the arrows. So, I put you, Carl, and James on that one for when we do movie-based video games. So,
just a heads up on that.
all right.
We have Predator probably is my number 1 for best video game movies or best movies based off
movie games. Well, don't give us spoilers.
No, Predator is fun to play, but it's definitely not.
Okay, that was sarcasm. Okay,
I'm not gonna give these great people in chat the free thing. They got to show up to the show.
Yeah, I was like, "What are you doing, man?" So, let me see here. I had some notes on. No, my next notes are on this next episode, episode 21. That was favorite party members. So that originally the idea was like, your party members in RPGs, but I wanted to expand that a little bit to characters that they have to like be in the game, like a character model that shows up, like gives you help through a level. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be like RPG party members, but maybe someone who shows up for a few levels, maybe is like guiding you along the way through the game, but not someone who's like just giving you instructions over the radio and you never actually see their character. They don't actually ever show up. They do have to have a character model and show up and help you in some way. So that was what it meant by party members. So I say party members in air quotes in that, not all of them are actual party members, but they are in game and they help you in some way, or so that was episode 21, and that was just that was our second to last episode for the year. That was at the end of November. So, and that one was just the only one who joined us for that one was Carl again. So if anyone wants to revisit that one and let us know what your top 5 favorite party members are, let us know. So Carl's top 5. Number 5 was Serana, which was from Skyrim, and she was from the Dawnguard DLC, I believe. His number 4 was Koromaru from Persona 3, which is a dog character and is the goodest of boys or girls. I forget if that's a boy. I think it was a boy dog. And this is the one that I was pulling up pictures of these characters as we were going through it. So I don't often do that, but I did it for this one. His number 3 was Javik from Mass Effect 3. His number 2 was HK-47 from Knights of the Old Republic. And his number 1 was just the starter Pokemon in general. So not any particular starter Pokemon, but just the starter Pokemon. So My top 5 party members. My number 5 was BT7274, or BT for short, from Titanfall 2. That is the mech suit that you play through the game with. My number 4 was Arbiter from Halo. My number 3 was Butters from Stick of Truth. He is also in Fractured But Whole, but I like him in Stick of Truth better. My number 2 was Garrus from Mass Effect, and my number 1 was Fox, not Fox, but Fawkes, named after Guy Fawkes, as the super mutant that tears everything to shreds in Fallout 3 and becomes your party member. He is awesome. So, James is saying his would be Javik from Mortal Kombat 4. Javik? Oh, that must be a different Javik, because I was like,
Jarek.
Javik from Mass
I
Effect.
was trying to say Jarek. Yeah.
Oh, Jarek. Okay. I was like, Javik? I don't think Javik has been in a Mortal Kombat unless there's a different character with the same name. So, and Jason, what were your top 5 favorite party members?
Mine started off kind of crazy. Because I was like, if I
That's
were
right. This was a
if I were
wild
to
one.
play as this team, usually I don't play as the Utah Jazz, but I usually play as Stockton. So Karl Malone was my number 5 because he
From NBA Jam Tournament Edition.
So yeah, because he had one of the best stats, but in Jam you need to shoot threes, and obviously you need that. So yeah, Captain Commando was my number 4 from Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Great assist character. Not the greatest point, but super good. Frog number 3.
That's from Chrono
the
Trigger.
Merchant from Resident Evil 4, because if it wasn't for him, you'd be screwed.
What are you buying?
What are you selling? And then Aerith was my number 1 because of I put her just because Tifa's my favorite, but Aerith is the support character, and if it wasn't for her and her story stuff, some of the stuff in the game wouldn't have happened. So I put Aerith as number 1.
All right. James says he's got to run, lads, but great show as always. Can't wait for top 5s in 2025. And he says, oh, yeah, Jarek, I ruined my own joke. So good night, James. And I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. And Lowest Expectation says the party members episode was the first episode of top 5
awesome.
that he caught. So cool stuff. Always good to see you guys in chat. And Carl says, have a good, he's just saying good night to James and Kay. So, yeah, so this is one that I had a. Wait. Oh, that's on the next one. So, but I did have a note that I wrote down on for this one. Huge shout out to Nerdporial Lifeform. He dropped in on this stream and dropped a $50 tip.
Right.
So,
yeah,
shout out to Nerdporial again for blessing us with an early Christmas present. So. I don't think you're here, dude, but I appreciate it. Always appreciate your support. So thanks again to Nerdporial. So Carl says, after Final Fantasy VII, I would have put Yuffie in my list now. Okay.
He's super busted in the new game, and she's a pretty good character. So yeah, I can see that.
All right. Oh, darn. James is leaving. In our last episode of Top 5 for the year, James was on the panel, and that was Top 5 PS1 games. And it was too perfect because when in early November, Jason and I were talking about what the next few episodes of Top 5 were going to be. And Jason's like, I want to do a Top 5 PS1 games because the anniversary of the PS1 is in December at some point. So we went and looked it up, and the anniversary, it was the 30th anniversary of the PS1 was on December 3rd last year. And we looked it up. December 3rd was on a Tuesday, and we were already going to have a top 5 that day. So it's like it was meant to be. And James on a Steam roulette, he had just done like a PS1 roulette, and he was just talking about how much he did that a couple weeks later. In November, but James had a PS1 roulette, and he was talking about how much he loved the PS1, and it was like one of his favorite things from his childhood. So I was like, James, you got to be on top 5 PS1 games. So James was on this panel, as was Dude, and then of course the two of us. And Dude already took off over on Rumble a little while ago. But so for anyone who didn't catch that one, I've never owned a PlayStation in my life. I can count on one hand the amount of times I've even played a PlayStation. I played a PS1 once. I played a PS2 twice. I played a PS3 once, and I've never played a PS4 or PS5. So it's like, how do I come up with the top 5 PS1 games when I've barely ever even played PS1, much less any PlayStation. And so for me, I made a list of top 5 games that I had played that were also on PS1. I just played them on another platform because I never really played PS1. So that's how I was able to come up with a list of top 5 games on PS1. I just didn't play them on PS1. So for anyone who's like, what? That's a terrible list. Well, that's why. So since we're talking about it, I'll just go ahead and go over mine first. So my number 5 was Metal Slug X. And that is also because I played that somewhat recently because it was on Game Pass not that long ago. It left Game Pass. But I went and I got all the achievements in it on both the Xbox and the Windows version before it left Game Pass. And the Metal Slug games are just a real fun shoot 'em up. My number 4 was Castlevania Symphony of the Night. My number 3, I wrote down on my notes Tony Hawk Pro Skaters 1 through 3, but that's because I didn't even know that Pro Skater 1, 2, and 3 were all on PS1 because I played Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 on N64. I played Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 on Game Boy Advance, and I played Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 on GameCube. So I was blown away when I found out that all 3 of them were on the original PlayStation. Then I also found out that all 3 of them were on N64 as well. But on this stream, though, I picked Tony Hawk 1 in particular because, like I said, I didn't even know the other ones were even on that hardware. But I played Tony Hawk 1 on N64, and that's what got me into the skating games, and I love that game. So when I think of, like, polygonal graphics in Tony Hawk, I think of Tony Hawk 1. So that's the one I picked. But on my notes, I wrote down 1, 2, and 3 because all 3 of them were on PlayStation 1. But the only one that I played on that generation of hardware was Tony Hawk 1. So that was my official answer. My number 2 was Dark Forces. I played it on PC, but it was on PlayStation 1, obviously. And then my number 1, and it's the one of these that I've played the original version the most times because it hasn't really been remade or anything, and that was Mega Man X4. So it would have been Mega Man X3 because Mega Man X3 is my favorite Mega Man game. But as mentioned earlier in this stream, I played the PlayStation version of it for the first time last year on the GameCube Mega Man X collection. But they had the PlayStation version, not the Super Nintendo version. And the Super Nintendo version of X3 is far superior to the PlayStation version of X3. So that's why Mega Man X4 was my pick for number 1 and not Mega Man X3. And I played Mega Man X4 back in the day. And Symphony of the Night, I played on the Xbox Live Arcade. And I talked about Tony Hawk. And then Metal Slug, I had played those here and there, like arcade. But it was the Game Pass one that I actually played through it like in its entirety for the first time. I never actually played through like the whole thing before. So, but yeah. So, I don't. James said he was going to bounce, so I don't know if he's still there. But James' top 5 PS1 games was number 5 was Crash Team Racing. His number 4 was Spider-Man. His number 3 was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. His number 2 was Twisted Metal 4. And his number 1 was WWF SmackDown 2 Know Your Role. And it was, he prefaced that with, my number 1 is a sports game. We're all like, what? And then it was a wrestling game. Like, oh, that makes sense for James. So, you want to go ahead and go over dudes and then your own?
Yeah, I can do that. So yeah, dude put a trash game for number 5 at Medieval.
I was just talking about this earlier this week about how you, although I couldn't remember who it was, I was like, was it Carl? I couldn't remember, but it was dude, and you have a very differing opinions on this game.
Yep. An absolutely trash game for number 5. I don't know why anybody would want to play that game, but anyway, he put that at number 5.
What game was that?
It was Medieval. Anyway, Tony Hawk's Pro
You
Skater
don't
2.
love what's his name? Something Montesquieu?
Yeah, something like that.
Sir Skeleton that can't jump from a platform to a platform without drowning.
How does he drown? He doesn't have any lungs.
There you go. See, that's why. Yeah. Anyway, he does pick it up after that. He puts Tony Hawk's Pro Skater number 4, Spyro number 2.
That was Tony Hawk 2.
Yep, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Yep. Spyro 2 at number 3, Final Fantasy 7 number 2, and Symphony of the Night at number 1. So makes up for it at the bottom 4, I will say.
Or
And
the top
then
4.
yes, bottom 4. What I said, yes, yeah. Checks and balances. Anyway, for me, I had Tony Hawk's Pro Skater at Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 at number 5, Metal Gear Solid at number 4, Mr. Parappa back there at number 3, Resident Evil 2 and Final Fantasy 7 were going to be 1 and 2, and that was so hard for me to.
This is what I was talking about earlier, when you couldn't rank your children, essentially. You're like, all right, I got to consider one like my favorite movie and the other like my favorite show.
Yep.
And the one that you compared them to, I thought it would actually make more sense to flip them, because I think you said my favorite movie would be Final Fantasy, my favorite show would be Resident Evil. I was like, it would make more sense, in my opinion, to say your favorite movie is Resident Evil and your favorite show is Final Fantasy. But that's just me.
No, the reason why I do it the opposite is because Final Fantasy 7 takes longer for me to beat. So, and it takes me longer to watch a movie, where Resident Evil 2 is
that's why I was like, I think it's the opposite, but you're just talking about a single episode. Like, it takes a lot longer to watch a season of a show than it takes to watch a movie.
I guess that's true.
That's why I was thinking like the show is the longer one and the movie is the shorter one.
That's a good point, actually.
But if you're comparing an episode of a show to a movie, then what you were saying definitely makes sense. But I was thinking about it in length of like a whole season.
That makes sense. I got you now. That makes sense. But yeah, Resident Evil 2 I put as number 2, and then Final Fantasy 7 I put as number 1. So yeah, that was tough for me to actually have to put a number 1 and 2 next to those, to the left of those. It was really tough for me.
Oh, and Carl is saying Sir Francis Fortescue. Thank you. So, and then Lois says his favorite PS1 games are Xenogears, Brave Fencer Musashi.
Mm-hmm.
Never even heard of that one. And Symphony of the Night are my PS1 top picks. Haven't played much else. So,
good ones.
And so where did that leave our PS1 rankings?
So yeah, the last episode of season 1, our 5 was SmackDown 2, Mega Man X4, Symphony of the Night, Final Fantasy 7, and number 1 was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
I was the only one who didn't have 2. I had number 1. Everyone else had 2. So, but that made sense for it being at number 1 because everyone mentioned it. We talked on that episode. We talked a ton about Tony Hawk. So I think that one was almost 5 hours. That was one of our longer ones, but
that was
it wasn't in the 5-hour mark yet. But that was a fun one. Even though like I said, I've not really played any PlayStation 1 games, that was still a blast. So, but yeah, that wrapped it up for our first year of top 5. And then, this episode 23 that we're on right now is our first one of top of 2025. So we got some fun stuff. I've got a huge list of topics. We're going to keep going, and it's going to be a fun year of more top 5. So anything else you want to talk about on PS1s before we kind of wrap it up here?
No, I think that was a great way to start a season with something that you were extremely knowledgeable on and everything like that, and then ended on something that I knew a lot more and I had a little bit things. So
I didn't even think about that. That's a good bookend. Where the first episode was Metroidvania, which is my area of expertise, and then the last episode was PS1 games, which is you have quite an area of expertise on.
So yeah, I thought that was a kind of a good way, and how everything kind of filtered in between. I had a great time with the seasons, the episodes on each, everything like that. So I mean, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and a great, like I said, great way to end the whole entire season for season 1.
So, and Carl saying, so when do I get to be the official third chair, since you've been on probably like half the episodes? But yeah, for those of you guys who are still out there, like we said, this is the first and only top 5 we've done where it's just been the 2 of us. Yeah. So this show is all about getting you guys on and having topics and hearing your guys' top 5. So if there's any topics that you've heard tonight that you want to revisit, let us know. If there's any topics you have to suggest, let us know. Even if, you just want to be on an episode and you don't even have a topic to suggest, let us know. And this is all about getting you guys on and having a fun time ranking our top 5, whatever. Obviously, there's a heavy focus on video games. It doesn't have to be. We've had a few video game ranking streams, or sorry, movie ranking streams. There was a WrestleMania ranking stream. I know we haven't done it yet, but Jason said he wants to do some like music ranking streams, and he's got some other ones. So we have our next episode, which is in 2 weeks from tonight, planned. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But other than that, we don't have any others planned for the rest of the year. Other than I did talk to Jason about this. I don't know when it's going to be, but I've already reached out to a few people. I want to do it this year because I'm still making my way through it. I'm almost done. But right there, I'm absolutely going to be doing a ranking stream of top 5 favorite Stargate SG-1 episodes. So I've reached out to a few people who are well-versed in SG-1. Jason's welcome to join. I don't know if he wants to since he's seen a few episodes, but I don't think he's seen it in its entirety.
I think I said I'd join just to moderate. I won't be there. I'll just be like, go ahead, and I'll just be there just as a chair, just to kind of be like, kind of show my face and deal with you in the chat and all that kind of stuff.
So at some point this year, there will be a top 5 Stargate SG-1 episodes. Don't know when that's going to be yet, but I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm currently about halfway through season 8. So I've got about 2.5 seasons left because there are 10 seasons. But it's slowed down for me because at the beginning of season 8 of SG-1 is also when Stargate Atlantis started, and they do intertwine. So now instead of just watching a whole season, I'm going back and forth between SG-1 episodes and Stargate Atlantis episodes. So it's going to take me a little bit longer to get through these last 2.5 seasons. But once I'm done with rewatching SG-1 in its entirety, I'll reach out to the people. I've reached out to a few people, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm in." So then we'll get a date on the calendar. And anyone who is out there who is well-versed in SG-1, let me know. You're welcome to be on that one as well. So, but yeah, with that, as mentioned, we got our next episode planned. And what is our next episode about, Jason?
Yes. So in 2 weeks, we're going to do kind of like our game of the year kind of thing, but it doesn't have to be out in 2004. So what we were saying is 2024. That's what I said.
20 years ago.
Yeah. No, it's not almost midnight in my area. No, anyway,
as Paul mentioned earlier, we very well may do like top 5 games of a specific year. That's definitely on the table. But yeah, we're going to be doing top 5 2024 games, but not necessarily games that came out in 2024.
Right. It's got to be like kind of like not a like, almost like a new game that you played in 2024. So it can't be like, for me, Resident Evil 2 is my favorite game of all time. I can't be like, oh, I've played that 100 times. It's my game of 2024. It's got to be.
I played Mega Man X3 3 times this year. In 2024, and it's my favorite Mega Man game. So that would not be an eligible game because I've beaten that game like dozens of times. It has to be something that it could have came out in 2024. Absolutely. Right. If it came out in 2024, it's absolutely eligible. But if it's a game that didn't come out in 2024, it has to be something you either played for the first time or something you're revisiting for the first time because of maybe like a DLC or an expansion or something that came out and you're returning to it for the first time in a long time. So that will be the next episode of Top 5 in 2 weeks from tonight. So if that sounds good to anyone, let us know, because I don't think we have anyone planned for that one yet, unless I am wrong. Well, we do, because Lowest Expectations.
Yeah, we have one
mentioned right just like an hour ago. He's like, "Hey, I want to be on that one." So, Lois, I've got you written down for that one, but you're the only one so far. So, Paul's saying that Gabs loves Stargate. Well, if she wants to come on and rank top 5 Stargate SG-1 episodes, she's definitely welcome to. And Carl says, if you need someone, let me know for next top 5. You're definitely welcome. So anything you got anything else that you want to plug?
No, as of right
any
now,
progress on your other stuff?
No, nothing crazy yet. Like I said, I've been turning the camera on every once in a while to play some games. I have been sick the last 2 to 3 weeks, so not one ES.
I just there was one more note I had written down that I forgot to mention when we were talking about top 5 party members. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and finish what you're saying, and then I will.
Yeah. So no, I haven't been. Actually, this is one of the first time in like 2 weeks that I actually had been in my office and turning my computer on. So I haven't done much there, just trying to get everything that. But no, you'll see me this year probably playing a little bit more games. Just if I'm gonna play a game, might as well turn the camera on. Again, I have some of the shows in the background. Was learning how to use this guy today, so me and being fighting games, I'm learning how to use one of these guys, which is a lot harder. It's almost like
Oh.
learning it. It's almost like learning a new language. So instead of using a regular gigantic arcade stick, using these just because they're so much smaller and they're so much nicer. But bunch of fighting games are coming out this year. Tekken 8 is still a lot of fun. Virtual Fighters coming out. Hopefully the new ones sooner than later. A bunch of stuff's coming out. So excited for what's coming. And PoE is still a lot of fun when I'm playing it. So a lot of stuff. And then I think I don't know when it's gonna happen, but we still have that Borderlands thing. So we'll see what happens with that later down the line too. So.
Yeah. So,
Oh, and then Monster Hunter.
yeah, Carl's going to try to get me into Monster Hunter when that comes out. But Jason and was it Carl? We were talking about
Yes.
doing Borderlands and playing through at least Borderlands 3. But I thought it'd be fun to do the whole trilogy. So I picked it up. So I was planning on we would start that after Dude and I are done with Dude Souls. But
whenever.
So we that may be coming soon. So Paul's saying Path of Exile. So but yeah, so the one thing, my last note here that I wrote down for something I wanted to mention on top 5 PS1 games, it was freaking hilarious because we're talking about Final Fantasy because shoot, I already moved it. That was Jason's number 1 pick. And they're talking about some of the other ones in that game. And in Final Fantasy VII, James was simping for Jessie a little bit. And someone in chat mentioned, canonically, she's only like 17. And so this was all going on in chat while someone else was talking. I think Jason was talking at this point.
I might have been. Yeah, I think I was.
And so James is like,
yeah,
like ignore me, and we're all like, just like you can see me. I'm just like laughing silently because just paying attention to the chat because he has the joking stereotype of liking some girls that may not have reached the age. And so it was funny that he said that, and then it just played into his the stereotype. So that was another thing that was really funny because it wasn't actually really happening on screen; it was happening in the chat, and that was just really hilarious. So that's probably why James had to leave already because he didn't want to be reminded of that.
Yep.
So, but yeah, all right. Well, I thought this was going to be. Well, we didn't really have a plan for this.
No,
we kind of just went with the flow because when we were talking earlier today, I was like, "Are we ranking things? Or are we just kind of talking about stuff?" He's like, "We're just going to talk about stuff." Where we're both like, "All right, probably not going to be very long." And then we got on stream, and I was like, "Let's just go through each episode." And now it's almost, we're coming up on 4 hours, so it's a lot longer than either of us, I think, were thinking it was going to be.
Oh yeah,
but it was great.
You're
going back and recounting the stories of year 1 of top 5. So, all right. So yeah, if anyone isn't subbed to Jason's channel, go sub to Jason. It is in the stream description, or at least it should be.
Or
double check.
I know it's usually about 20%. If you're on my channel, go to Nerd Neos and subscribe on his. So whatever channel you're on, go follow both of us because you can watch top 5 either way. Chat works same way, both things too, so we can get you and everything like that. And obviously Neo has a little bit more stuff because he does a little more after I do, so his is the most main hub. But yeah, just follow either one of us, follow both of us, doesn't matter, it doesn't hurt to hit that subscribe button. And then yeah,
so yes, if you aren't subbed to Jason's channel, the link is in the stream description. So Paul's saying, great show, guys, looking forward to another year. And yeah, Carl's saying, just waiting for my homies. So and he has them all on PC. Well, that might be an issue for 1 and 2, but we'll talk about that later. So, as for myself, I'm got a pretty busy stream schedule. I'm pretty much streaming every night, Monday through Thursday. Last night was Mass Effect Monday, and only one of the 3 people who were signed up showed up, and then we couldn't get in a game together because the game was refusing to let us be in a lobby together. And the game crashed on me like 4 or 5 times. So it was a bit of a bust on the Mass Effect side of things. But then Winter Prince and I ended up just chatting for about 2 hours and became like an impromptu open mic. So that was a lot of fun. But tomorrow night will be more Dude Souls, and I'm very close to the end of the game. So this may be the last episode where I am streaming and playing, because after we're done here, then we're going to flip and I'm going to watch Dude play through Dark Souls. And since he's such an expert, we'll probably get through the whole game in like 2 streams. But this may be the last one where I'm streaming, because I do have more achievements in the game, but I'm going to do the rest of those off stream. And then on Thursday will be the first open mic of 2025. And I have Nerd Slap is going to be my guest. And it's going to be great to get back to open mic, because my last open mic was in November and it feels like forever since I've done an open mic. So it's going to be fun just chatting video games. And I've got some special things lined up that I've been working with him behind the scenes. And we're going to be debuting on Thursday night's open mic. So come check that out. We're going to be spicing some things up on the channel and have a great discussion with him. So with that, that'll wrap it up for tonight. So thank you all for joining us in chat and hanging out with us as we went over year 1 of Top 5. Hopefully you'll all stay here and hang out with us over year 2. And we'll get you guys on panels and talk about your favorite Top 5 things. So you all have a good night. Thanks for joining us. We will see you all later, and we'll catch you next time. And as always, in the meantime, game on.